Hello everyone, Xeno What If here. Bring in Season 2 Part 17 of What If the Transformers Were in My Hero Academia. Link in the description of the fanfiction of this What If. Listen here YouTube. I do not own anything and this is not a scam. Chapter 33, Keita Kiryu, Origin. Sorry for the extended wait on this one, folks. Our trusted colleague, Smintos, is nearly done getting the field back in ship shape and we'll be back at ya in a little bit. Izuku and Shoto both felt a little bad about that. They were the ones responsible for nearly destroying the whole field, and thus felt like they were wasting people's time with having to wait so long. Nevertheless, both boys were sitting at the edges of their hospital beds, waiting with anticipation for the match to begin. But for Izuku, the silent waiting was starting to make him a little antsy. He knew that Shoto wasn't exactly the most social butterfly either, but there was a topic on his mind that he was eager to know more about. Hey, Todoroki. Yeah, what's up? The quirk inheritor craned his head around, facing his classmate. I was just wondering, you and Kiryu seem to be really friendly with one another, so, how did you meet back in junior high? The question made Shoto's eyebrows raise up, which made Izuku start to backpedal. That is, if you don't mind answering. You don't have to if you don't. Actually, I don't mind. Shoto assured, giving the greenette a nod. In fact, after our rather eventful battle, I think I owe you at least something, so explaining my past with Keita seems suitable. That made Izuku's smile return as Shoto's sights went up, recalling the day that he and the Soro parts user first met. Well, let's see, it was 3 years ago now. We had both started middle school, but neither of us were in the same class. His lips curled into a soft grimace. And, well, my start wasn't too smooth. I was a late bloomer, shorter than the rest of the kids and my voice hadn't settled in yet. For the first couple of weeks, people in my grade or even upperclassmen would tease me about it. But then, when they had me cornered one day, that's when Keita entered the picture. Mandalore Junior High, 3 years ago. Shoto was kicking himself for receiving such rotten luck. It was before the first bell and already these guys were coming at him, snickering with conceiving intent. Normally, he didn't pay these guys much mind. After all, no amount of teasing could compare to what his dad did to him. But today, these guys decided to get more involved. One of them that he didn't see initially actually snuck up on him and swiped his backpack, holding it up high so that he couldn't reach. Gah, really? You guys really have nothing better to do. Why wouldn't we, Shrimpy? One of the boys smirked as they all tossed the backpack between one another. After all, what's better than watching you play Ring Around the Rosie with your backpack? And if you like this, don't worry, there's gonna be lots more to come. Another cackled. This seriously isn't funny, Shoto growled. You call this pathetic excuse of a game amusing? Please, people like you aren't worth the time of day. All of the boys suddenly stopped when they heard that, the lead one scowling down at Shoto as his fist transformed into one made of bricks. The hell did you just say, punk? That very second, Shoto became far more nervous. This was not good. Hey, we're not allowed to use our quirks on school grounds, gah. With a forceful punch, the monochromatic boy was sent hurtling back into a nearby dumpster, before his backpack was thrown straight into his gut to add to the blow. Oh ho, little big man wants to be a goody two-shoes, The leader popped his neck, his friends getting ready to add onto the punishment. Well, guess what, we don't care where we use our quirks. Why should heroes be the only ones to use them in public, Doesn't seem fair. Shoto tried to get up, but quickly found that he was surrounded. Now, how's about we teach you a lesson in clang? What the, The group of punks all screamed after Shoto felt the dumpster rattle against his back, which immediately clued him into the presence of someone else. He spun around and looked up, seeing a rather imposing figure standing on top of the lid. They were taller than anyone there, standing at 6 feet in height. Their form was cast in shadow, though the glare of her eyes made it apparent that she was not happy. Hey, what the hell's going on around here? Oh god, it's her. One of the punks shouted. The monster of Class 1C. Let's get outta here. And just like that, all of the boys took off, with exception of the leader. The brick-fisted boy whipped around, his expression clearly panicked as he yelled after them, "Hey! Stop! Come back! Don't leave me along with, smack! Gia!" From the top of the dumpster, the girl came down with a hard kick to his back, making him stumble and topple onto the pavement. "Get outta here!" the gray-skinned, dark-haired girl bellowed. "And don't ever pick on him again, you hear me?" Loud and clear. The punk screamed as he ran off, his pants now 20% wetter than they had been just a second ago. "Mommy!" The girl smirked and placed a hand on her hip. "Hey, that'll show 'em. They'll think twice about bullying you, guy, huh?" The moment she turned around, she saw Shoto curled up and staring up at her, his eyes wide with awe and shock. Immediately, the young girl realized what she did wrong and went to apologize. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. That was amazing." Shoto's words were enough to snap her out of it. Sorry. It was amazing." Shoto stood up, wearing a soft yet excited smile. "You just swooped in from out of nowhere and chased them off." He saw her school uniform and asked, "Do you really go here?" "He said that you're in class 1C, right?" The girl blinked in surprise before her smile returned, bringing herself back up and jerking a thumb toward herself. "Yep, that's right. I'm Keita Kiryu, by the way. I'm Shoto Todoroki, I'm in class 1D. Even as the tension of the moment passed, however, Shoto couldn't help but be astonished by the girl's height. Has anyone told you that you're pretty tall for a middle schooler?" Keita held back a laugh, resulting in a snort as she covered her mouth. "Faye, yeah, all the time. Though to be honest, it's pretty much always been like that." She glanced off to the side, and Shoto saw a new sadness in her eyes. "In fact, back in grade school, my height was one of the things that I myself got bullied for, among other things." The boy's mouth fell open, completely stunned. This girl got bullied. "Wow, I'm sorry." "Don't be," Keita replied, her smile returning tenfold. "Believe me, grade school sucked, but after a year off and getting my confidence boosted, I honestly feel a lot better about myself." She flexed her arm, pulling her sleeve back to show off some muscle. "Helps that I got in shape during that time, too." A sigh escaped Shoto's lips, one of both awe and self-disappointment. "Aw, man, you're so lucky." He lowered his gaze to the ground. "I think I'm younger than pretty much everyone here, and because of that, I'm smaller, too." "Oh, well, how old are you?" 12. That made Keita's eyebrows snap up. "Whoa, skipped a grade or two." Shoto sheepishly nodded before she stepped closer to him, abruptly comparing her height to his. Well, 4 feet is about the size someone your age should be, but don't worry." She sent a wink down at him. "You'll shoot up like a weed in no time, I'm sure of it." Before Shoto could say anything else, both of them were graced with the sound of the school bell ringing, setting in a panic for both of them. "Oh no, we're late." "Aw, crap, meet me at lunch. Rooftop maybe." Are you serious?" Shoto said with a slight blush. "Hey, of course." Keita began running off, headed toward her class. "I'm not about to let a new friend off the hook that easily." Shoto couldn't help but smile as the happy memory passed through his mind. And from that day forward, things were pretty great, all things considered. Mandalore Junior High went from a place of torment to a place where I could finally escape my father. He glanced over to Izuku, who was completely entranced by the story at this point. "And then you told her about your dad, too, right?" he asked. But the half-and-half user shook his head. "No, that didn't happen until around the end of summer vacation. But, there was something that happened before summer that I definitely should mention." Keita and Shoto were walking through the streets of Tokyo, the duo having decided to spend their free day together before they wouldn't see each other for the next month. "I still have no clue why I can't come over to your house in the summer, Todoroki," Keita mentioned as they started their trek through the busy crosswalk. "I mean, your family can't be that bad, can they?" The boy's expression darkened at that. "No, just my dad." He forced his smile back as he waved her off. Oh, trust me, you wouldn't wanna be there. I've got a lot of training to do if I'm going to make it into UA." Man, it's so cool that you know you wanna get into that school." Keita rested her hands behind her head, setting her gaze to the sky. "I've got no idea if I wanna be a hero or not." I mean, I respect that my bro wants to be one, but still. Honestly, I think you'd make a great hero, Kiryu. Shoto vouched. I mean, with a quirk like yours, you'd be pretty popular, and very versatile. That managed to make Keita blush a little, giving Shoto a little whop to the shoulder. Oh, stop it. You're only saying that because I'm like a dinosaur, huh? Just as they made it to the other side of the sidewalk, the sounds of screaming greeted their ears, and then... boom! The teens gasped at the sight above, watching as the top of a skyscraper exploded right in front of them. All around, citizens began screaming and running for their lives, with police officers already on the scene to direct them to safety. Shoto, remembering his training, grabbed Keita by the hand to lead her away. Kiryu, come on, we've gotta get outta, boom. Before either of them could move, however, another explosion happened on a lower level of the building, and from there, a massive individual appeared. The second he landed in front of them, they could tell that he was a villain, one with an almost perfectly spherical body. And, from his dark outer shell and the fuse sticking out of his head, he resembled a cartoonish bomb with arms and legs. He had a big mouth and blank white eyes, which only added to his creepiness. Whoa ho ho. Whata we got here? AAA villain. Keita screamed, clutching to Shoto as he glared at the bomb man. Get away from us, he shouted. The bomb man just brushed them off. Oh, but I don't think I will. See, I'm gonna need some hostages if I wanna get what I want. The fuse on top of his head suddenly lit up by itself, the villain's smirk increasing. So I think that you two'll make a perfect, gak. GYAAAAAAOOOOOORRR. Keita and Shoto were forced to cover their ears as a loud roar suddenly echoed throughout the area. The roar was accompanied by a massive, armored claw that grabbed the bomb villain and slammed him down face first into the pavement, instantly knocking him out cold. The two children dared to glance up, and what they saw made their jaws drop. There, looming over both of them, was a massive dragon. It had large, scaly, gray wings, and the scales on her hands, feet and tail matched perfectly. However, most of its thick hide near its head was actually skin-colored, and it seemed to wear a long red dress, which was all it took to see that this dragon was female. The dragon craned her neck down, bringing her head near both of them. Are you kids okay? Yeah, Shoto answered, all while Keita stared at the dragon woman in awe. Oh, thank goodness, in a move that served to shock both teens, the dragon slowly began transforming back into a regular woman, the armor on her claw moving over her blonde hair to make a stylish headpiece. The tall, slender, and rather beautiful heroine smiled kindly to both of them, all while reporters and police began to surround them all. I'm grateful to hear that. Though you both should be much more careful. Shoto gasped in realization. Wait, I know you. You're the dragon hero, Yukio. Yukio, Keita mumbled, feeling a bit of heat rising to her cheeks. HM, that's right, you certainly know your heroes, young man. Yukio confirmed, raising her arm to lead the two away. But both of you might want to make yourself scarce. This is a crime scene after all. With a prompt bow, Shoto was more than happy to follow that advice. Oh of course, thank you again. Come on, Kiryu, we should, huh? Keita, however, stayed put where she was. In fact, she began to slowly walk up to Yukio in a stunted fashion, before giving her a stiff bow of her own. Thank you for saving us, Miss Yukio. I appreciate it. Yukio's smile widened a little bit, finding the girl in front of her to be rather charming. Oh, it's no problem at all, young lady. Now go, trust me, you don't want to be here for long. Alright, got it. In truth, Keita so desperately wanted to stay and talk with the heroine more, but she knew it wasn't to be. Thank you very much again. Bye. With that, the two teens rushed off down the sidewalk, and once they were a fair distance away, Keita took a deep breath, wearing a shaky smile. You know what? I think being a hero might actually not be such a bad idea for me. Despite himself, Shoto couldn't help but smirk knowingly. Oh, really? What could have made your mind up? Your new crush, perhaps? Hey. It is not like that, Todoroki. Keita's blush deepened despite herself. I just have a lot of admiration for her hero work, that's it. She set her sights back down the road, where she saw Yukio giving a short interview with the press. And someday, I wanna be just like her. Wow, Yukio, huh? Izuku grinned, finding the whole story very exciting. Man, I had no idea that she idolized her. She's a great hero to look up to. Shoto nodded. Yeah, and when she made the top 10 not soon after, her obsession only grew. I always thought it had to do with the fact that they both have mutation-type quirks, and the fact that they're both reptilian in nature also helps, but he gave a shrug. In all honesty, I think Keita's been hoping that, if she does well enough in the festival, then maybe Yukio would try and scout her out. That caught Izuku's attention. Does she want her to be her mentor? More than likely. Keita's always wanted to learn how to transform into a complete dinosaur. Shoto extended a hand in a claw gesture. And since Yukio can, well, become a dragon, I'm pretty sure Keita thinks she can help her with that. I see. Huh, wow, there was so much about Kiryu I had no idea about. Izuku scratched his face sheepishly. Some friend I am. But Shoto shook his head. Don't worry about it. Besides, you've already got a group of 8 or 9 more friends, so it must be hard to keep track. As Izuku blushed at that, Shoto's mind went back to another certain memory. Meanwhile, Keita was pretty much my only friend in junior high, and about a year after that incident, and after I told her about my father, I decided to let her know my appreciation. In his second year, to say that Shoto shot up would be an understatement. Now 5.5 feet tall with much more room to grow, he felt a lot more confident in himself than at the start of his middle school experience. Though his only friend was still Keita, he didn't really have that much time to make other friends considering his father's rigorous training schedule, so he figured it'd be best to just stick with Keita. As a result, he gave everyone else the cold shoulder, including girls who would often pine after him and his now sharpened looks. Was that a dumb decision? Maybe, but considering he was holding a gift for his one friend who was a girl, it was probably best to leave dating for later on. The thought threatened to make Shoto blush, having wrestled with them well over summer break ever since he found the gift. Did he like Keita in that way, or was she still just his best friend? Did he even want to risk that relationship by taking it a step further, or was he getting way too ahead of himself? I mean, we've basically been attached at the hip for a year and a half now, so I doubt much would change. He glanced down to the small box in his hand. But still. Whoa, is that her? Shoto stopped near the school gate, where a bunch of first-year girls were very audibly commenting on someone. And that someone was Keita. The monster of Class 2C. Pretty sure, girl. Another one confirmed. Man, she's just as jacked and scary looking as everyone says. Her words served to make Shoto tighten his grip on his backpack strap. A third girl tilted her head. Man, if it weren't for the skirt, you'd swear she's a guy. The gnarly hair and gray skin really don't help her case, he. Shoto was about to confront them himself, when Keita caught wind first. Hey, I can hear you, Yano. You aren't exactly making yourselves subtle over here. The lead girl, a blonde who had obviously dyed her hair, rolled her eyes. PSH, well, what if we wanted you to hear us? Her cronies folded their arms over their chests with similar smirks. And how is it that you look like a punk more than I do? Let me guess, you're a sports team reject, right? Keita simply scoffed. HMPH, please, I've dealt with your kind before. Words like that don't bug me anymore. Well, hey. Shoto finally spoke up, butting into the conversation. Perhaps show a bit more respect to your senior, EH. Here I thought it was common courtesy to show upperclassmen your respect. The trio were left silent, surprised that a surprisingly hot guy was coming to her aid. It was just, fine, Killjoy. She turned her nose up and snapped her fingers, her cronies dutifully following her. Enjoy your roid rage girlfriend, pretty boy. Come on, ladies, let's go. Shoto was about to go after them, only for Keita to place a hand on his shoulder. Shoto, let them go. They're not worth it. They shouldn't say stuff like that to you. The boy growled. But once again, Keita shrugged it off. Not the worst thing I've been called, if you remember. Pretty sure I shared that extensively with Ya. It was then that Keita got a good look at her best friend, her smile widening as she noticed how tall he was. Whoa, dude, you shot up over summer break. She winked and nudged him in the side. See, what did I tell Ya? Nothing to worry about. The half-and-half user coughed into his hand, curtly nodding to her. Well yeah. When you're pretty much training non-stop, that'll happen. Kata's eyes narrowed. Your dad's not going too far, right? No. He sees me as his masterpiece, remember? He doesn't hurt me. I swear, one day, I'm gonna get dirt on him. Yeah, good luck with that. Also, did you get taller? That made the girl shrink down a bit, trying to hide that fact. Yeah, 6.5 feet now. Don't know when I'll stop. Shoto rolled his eyes. I swear, those dinosaur genes are doing something to you. But then, he brought up the box in his hand, his smile returning. But speaking of which, I actually found something over summer break, and I was reminded of you, so. Kata's hand went to her mouth, letting out a faux gasp. Shoto, did you get me a present? She winked again and poked him in the cheek as she reached for the box. You sly dog, you. Joke all you want, but I actually think you're gonna like it. Shoto countered, hoping his scar was enough to hide the red in his cheeks. Well, thank you either way. Kata absent-mindedly began opening the box. I honestly don't care what it is, so long as it's a gift from, No way. Her jaw dropped the moment she saw what it was, a dinosaur horn. Specifically, the front horn of a triceratops. Of course, it wasn't the genuine article, but she was left stunned by just how much it looked real. She stared at her best friend with wide eyes, shouting, Shoto. Where the hell did you find this? With his hand on his neck, Shoto explained, well, my sister, brother and I took a trip to the museum in Tokyo, and they had some of these on display. He glanced off to the side. So, I thought of you. I'm guessing that you like it, oof. Absolutely nothing could have prepared Shoto for what happened next. Kata was hugging him. Needless to say, he froze up, and he was very glad that she couldn't see his completely red face. I love it. Ooh, Shoto, you know exactly what I like. She put the necklace on immediately, wearing a beaming smile all the while. I'll never lose it. I promise, this'll be my good luck charm forever. And she never has. Shoto sighed. Izuku was both rather surprised, and a little confused. Wow, Todoroki, sounds like you two are pretty close, though I don't think I've ever seen her wear it around school. She usually keeps it in her pocket during school. The half-and-half user explained. Once she gets out for the day, she puts it on. Makes sense. Izuku nodded before sending a sly grin toward his new comrade. So, I take it that you and her have only gotten closer since then, huh? Shoto raised a questioning brow at that. Well, it's just that, after hearing that story, it sounds like Kiryu wanted to come to UA more than just because her brother went here, you know. Shoto quickly turned away, mumbling, that's, I honestly don't know. His attention was directed toward the television, where the battlefield was nearly ready. No matter what happens between us in the future, I just know that I'm really glad to have met her and just be her friend. Little did Shoto know that a certain someone was also recalling the same memory as him. As she stood in the entry tunnel waiting for her match to start, Kata was staring down at the horn in her hand, the same one that Shoto gave her. Her own lucky charm. It had been a year and a half ago, but even if it hadn't been that long, she still knew that she'd forever keep it as her personal keepsake. She closed her hand and brought it up near her cheek. Alright, semi-finals time. No pressure, I can do this. Man, and I thought you kicked that habit of talking to yourself. Kata yelped and spun around, bringing her hand down in a chop, onto her brother's head. Kentaro. What the hell? Gaia ouch. Kentaro rubbed his head, feeling a new lump beginning to form under his hair. Wow, gee, thanks for the warm welcome, sis. Much appreciated. Kata didn't find his sarcasm too funny, though. Well, what the heck did you expect? Ya snuck up on me and expected me to say, oh, hiya, big bro. Didn't see ya there. She scowled and crossed her arms. You know it's not a good idea to sneak up on me. Kentaro sighed and agreed. Duly noted, sorry. The gray-skinned girl gave her brother a light jab in the arm. Well, don't sweat it, I guess. Just keep the surprises to a minimum, please. She peered over her shoulder toward the battlefield, which was nearly repaired. Bad enough that I've got nerves going into this match. I see. Kentaro rubbed the back of his neck. Well, truth be told, I came here to wish ya good luck, and I've got a feeling you'll need all of it. He furrowed his brow toward the tunnel exit. That Bakugo kid, he's a monster. Yeah, in more ways than one. That took Kentaro aback a little. What do you mean by that? Iniki, about Bakugo, Keita craned her head down, her usual cheerful demeanor instead replaced by one of uncertainty and slight discomfort. He reminds me a lot of, back in the day, you know. From before we moved back to Japan. She hugged her arms as she continued, with Kentaro's eyes widening immediately. I do my best to stand up for my classmates, but, he's just a giant asshole to everyone. Kentaro's brows furrowed seriously. I see, has he been hurting anyone? No, he's just loud, obnoxious, and he calls people stupid names. Outside of training practice, he doesn't really get physical with anyone. Keita glanced off to the side. I mean, he tolerates a few of my classmates, but, everyone else, he just doesn't give a shit about. I don't expect him to care about all of us, but it'd be nice for him to use our actual names and not refer to us with insults. Kentaro let out a harumph, and crossed his arms with a disapproving grimace. As far as I'm concerned, calling people names is bad enough. Have you gone to any of the teachers about this? Good God, Keita. I wanted to try and see if I handle it on my own, okay. Keita thrust her arms toward the exit. Listen, I was planning to confront Bakugo about it out there, so. Kentaro stepped toward her firmly. And you thought that aggravating him during combat was a good idea? It's the only way Bakugo can understand anything. Keita snapped back. He doesn't get anything through that thick skull of his unless it's through conflict. She balled her fist, gritting her teeth. Don't get me wrong, I don't wanna do this, but if it's what I have to leave an impact and tell him to stop doing what he's doing, then so be it. The elder Kiryu sighed and facepalmed. I thought we had this discussion 6 years ago. You have to go to an adult when things like this happen. You can't solve everything by yourself. He reached a hand out, placing it firmly yet assuredly on her shoulder. It's obvious that you remember that, so why haven't you told anyone yet? Keita let out a short breath, her shoulders slumping as she hung her head low. Kentaro, I want to be a hero. I'm afraid of what the teachers will think of me if a hero in training goes to them to report one of her fellow classmates. I don't even have any proof. Other than the words of your other classmates. Kentaro cut her off, taking her by surprise. Also, if you're afraid of them seeing you as weak, you've got another thing coming. Just because you're training to become a hero doesn't mean you can't ask for help sometimes, especially from other heroes. His hand went up to cup her cheek gently. You should remember that, Katie, otherwise you'll be making more mistakes like this. But Mr. Aizawa has terrible teaching methods. Kentaro deadpanned. I thought Present Mike made that clear earlier. He folded his arms in disapproval. The fact that Aizawa applied that ass-backwards logic about Bakugo in that match with Uraraka kind of proves my point, too. He's got good intentions, but in the end, he's the type to throw you to the wolves and say, go improve yourself. He held up a finger and added, now, go to any other teacher, or heck, even Principal Nezu, and that's a different story. They'll help you, Keita, I promise. As she listened, Keita could feel her eyes beginning to well up with tears, only now realizing that she had made the wrong decision by waiting so long to say something. Her hands flew up to her face and she roared in agony and frustration. Yeah, stupid. I'm so freaking stupid. Keita slammed a hand so hard into the wall it cracked, but she didn't really care about the pain so much. Goddammit, I screwed up so freaking bad. Yeah, ya did. Kentaro confirmed, taking her bleeding fist and bringing it into his hands. But that's all part of the learning experience here at UA. You're gonna make mistakes, kiddo, so get used to it. Best thing to do is to learn from those mistakes. Keita sniffled, wiping at her eyes as she clenched her teeth. SNF, at this rate, how could I even start getting close to being like her? Hey, Keita, if that idol of yours were here right now, I think she'd tell you the exact same thing. Kentaro reassured. Trust me, being one of the top 10 heroes can't be easy for her, so there's no doubt she's made her fair share of mistakes. He pulled her into a big, brotherly hug. Hell, I'm still making mistakes, too, so you're not alone. He felt her nod against his chest. Alright. And don't be afraid to ask for help, from your teachers or your friends. Kentaro pulled her head up to give her a wink. After all, you've got him for a reason. Right. Keita breathed deeply, collecting her thoughts. So, what do I do now? With a knowing smile, Kentaro set his sights out toward the battlefield. Well, it seems like they're almost done fixing everything up. He pointed outside, wearing a smirk. And last I checked, you're going up against the source of all these problems, so how about letting off some steam, That made Keita let out a short chuckle. Yeah, fair point. Alright, party people. Present Mike shouted, garnering their attention. I've just been informed that, after a hearty game of rock paper scissors, our first finalist is gonna be Izuku Midoriya. The roar of the crowd was thunderous, but not enough to muffle the teacher's voice. Man, am I glad we don't gotta do any more arm wrestling. But, with that out of the way, let's get to our last semifinal match. Keita could feel her heart begin thumping against her chest, her pulse pounding in her ears. Well, here goes. She smiled to her brother one final time before making her way out. And thanks for the advice, Kentaro, I'll try not to be so bullheaded about asking for help in the future. Good to know. Kentaro winked. Now go kick that guy's ass for me, It wasn't long before both competitors were making their way to the ring, with the support of the fans at their backs. Coming in from the west side, he's literally been blowing away the competition, but this probably has to be his biggest challenge yet. It's Katsuki Bakugo from Class 1A. Versus, rolling in from the east, it's the Paleolithic behemoth who knows how to dish out some hard-hitting attacks. Also from Class 1A, Keita Kiryu. Up in the stands, the students of Class 1A and the Autobots watched as the two competitors took to the field, both wearing fairly similar scowls. Man, so intense. Denki muttered, feeling a bit of sweat trickling down his forehead. Glad I'm not in between those two. I feel ya, man. Eijiro nodded. We all know how Kiryu and Bakugo have been at each other's throats basically since the year started. Ochako nervously rubbed two fingers together, bringing her knees close to her chest. I have absolutely no idea who's gonna win this. Their quirks are both so strong. Kyoka furrowed her brow, subconsciously twirling one of her jacks around her finger. Yeah, well, I know who I'm rooting for. Yeah, no doubt about it. Jeff echoed his friend's sentiments. That Bakugo kid's got a mean streak the size of Polyhex. Something tells me a good ol' slice o' humble pie would do him some good. He craned his head over to his leader, who was holding his chin in thought. What do you think, Prime? Think Keita's got a good chance? Perhaps, though considering that both of them have been on a proverbial tear, I wouldn't rule out Bakugo either. Orion furrowed his brow, contemplating the potential outcome. Keita's quirk works best for short-range attacks, claw swipes, tail slaps, big impacts, etc. Meanwhile, Bakugo's quirk is more versatile with long range and close quarters, being able to launch explosions from anywhere. Sadie and Brian both pursed their lips, the latter glaring down at the ashen blonde. So that means that Bakugo has a disadvantage. Sadie concluded. Though Keita is able to make up for her shortcomings thanks to her movement options. Stella pointed out. Her raptor legs allow her to traverse at much greater speed than normal, plus her pterodactyl wings allow for flight. So, with any luck, she'd be able to avoid Bakugo's blasts and then go in for a hard hit. Sid leaned forward, giving her a deadpan stare. Yeah, but I think you're forgetting that Bakugo's able to propel himself through the air with those blasts of his, too. He'd be after her in a nanosecond. Sunny couldn't help but shake in anticipation. Either way, we've got two pretty powerful opponents here. It's gonna be a fierce battle, no doubt about it. Ready, begin. The moment Present Mike gave the word, Keita and Katsuki did nothing. Both of them were still in their combat-ready stances for a good few seconds after the match started, as if they were waiting for one another to make the first move. Does he expect me to go first? Keita asked herself. Katsuki let out a low grumble. Come on, lizard lips, make a move. Instead, however, Keita decided to take advantage of the unexpected waiting game. Gotta admit, never really saw you as a wait-and-see kind of person, Bakugo. Keita cracked her neck and knuckles to loosen herself up. Doesn't really feel like you. HMPH, gimme a break. I know you, Scale Belly. Bakugo narrowed his eyes. I've been keeping my eye on you throughout this whole festival. I've seen that you've got lots of options up your sleeves, so I'm keeping my eyes sharp. Huh, that actually makes a bit of sense. Without warning, an absolutely enormous, whip-like tail came bursting out from Kata's rear and she twisted herself around, lashing it at her opponent. But you're still gonna lose. Apatosaurus tail. Katsuki's eyes opened wide at the incoming attack. There it is. Aiming his hands down, the explosion user blasted himself straight up into the air, avoiding the tail as it came swinging at him. Not today. BOOOOM. He then thrusted his hand out and sent another explosion at Kata, who went to get out of the way. Raptor legs. Ha! Called it. Putting his hand straight behind him, Bakugo began expelling several small blasts from his palms to propel himself forward, chasing after the fleeing Sauroparts user. In no time, he found himself directly above her head, leading him to swing an arm down and yell, "Die!" Boom. Gah! Kata leapt at the last second, but was still blown away by the sheer force of the blast, making her tumble along the floor. She slid to a halt just before the ring line, and she wasted no time trying to get away from it. Pterodactyl wings. With her arms transformed, Kata jumped and took to the sky, where she glared down at Katsuki. You're not holding back, good. Bakugo smirked back, small crackles dancing along his palms in anticipation. Ha, why the hell wouldn't I? I've been waiting for this. Kata narrowed her eyes. What? Come on, don't play dumb. You and I've been on a collision course for weeks now. Boom. With another blast, Bakugo sent himself flying again, soaring up to meet Kata in midair. He made to grab at her, but she flew up to avoid him, only for Katsuki to cling onto her leg at the last moment and drag her down. With us button heads in class all the time, how could we not be? Ah, you're right. Kata swung her legs as she fell, kicking Bakugo right in the face and forcing him to let go. She rolled into a landing herself and exchanged her wings for her raptor claws, looming over the blonde with a scowl. I have been expecting this to happen, but I was hoping that it wouldn't. With a loud cry, she brought a claw down, only for Katsuki to dodge roll away. That wouldn't stop Kata from pursuing him, though. Unfortunately, talking to you like a normal person won't leave any sort of impression on you, so if I've gotta fight you to get my point across, then so be it. Ha, what point? Bakugo sent out a blast at Kata, but she leapt straight into the air after bringing out her Tyrannosaur's legs. What, do you think you're the class, big sister or something? Get off your high horse. Kata was baffled as she landed in front of him. Huh, that's not what I mean. Bakugo just rolled his eyes. Oh, please, since day one, you've been doting on everyone and trying to stand up for 'em whenever I so much as speak. Well, yeah, because you're a big fat jerk. Kata pointed at him. You think that this entire school, no, the entire world revolves around you, when it doesn't. The fact that you don't call anyone by their actual name shows just how much you lack respect for us. Kirishima. Uraraka. Bakugo furrowed his brows at her. Kiryu. That made Kata pause, blinking in surprise. That was the first time he hadn't called her either, lizard lips, or scale belly, and it was throwing her off. Wait, what? Listen, I ain't good with names, that's true. Bakugo balled a fist and widened his stance, ready to keep fighting. But you made a good point earlier, I do understand things better when fighting, including names. So if you wanna leave an impact on me and earn some bit of respect, then quicker yapping and start fighting, Kiryu. If anything, though, that just made Kata tighten her fist. Well, if that's true, without warning, Kata brought out her Apatosaurus tail and swung it, blindsiding Katsuki with her quick attack. The blonde was sent flying across the ring again and Kata was in hot pursuit, her T-Rex legs and raptor claws at the ready. Then why the hell do you keep picking on Midoriya specifically? You've known each other longer than any of us, so what the hell did he ever do to you? Bakugo snarled as he stood up, knowing the topic would be coming up eventually. That's none of your business. Boom. With an underhanded throw, Bakugo sent out a blast that tore up the field quite a bit, sending fire and debris Kata's way. That shit's between me and Deku, understand? Keita, now sporting a few scrapes and cuts, continued her way through the smoke to slash at Bakugo, leaving a long cut across his chest. No, I don't. But I want to help my friend, so don't think for a second I'll just leave it alone. Gah! Bakugo clutched his chest, feeling the blood trickle from his new wound. It wasn't very deep, but it still stung. He'd have to be careful going forward with his attacks. Any bad strain could open it even more. Katsuki raised his hand, sending out several blasts all at once. I said, it's not your problem. Deku and I'll settle it in the finals ourselves, so just go down, ya freak of nature. In that moment, everything paused for Keita, to the point where even she stopped. Unfortunately, this resulted in her getting hit dead on by the explosions, causing her to get sent flying away once again. Her Soro parts changed back to her normal limbs as she crashed to the floor, hitting her head in the process. But even then, only one word stuck with her as she briefly lost consciousness. Freak. America, 4 years ago. Wow, take a look over there, girls. It's the freak. I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times, her quirk did her dirty. Wouldn't wanna be a mutie like her, that's for sure. 12-year-old Keita Kiryu felt utterly miserable about herself. Every day, it was the same thing, freak, this and, ugly, that. Unfortunately, she couldn't change that. Her quirk gave her the gray, bumpy skin texture they were talking about, and to her, it just wasn't fair. It was always the same group of girls, too, the really pretty and very vain ones who liked to flaunt the money their parents had on every part of themselves. Ever since her parents had moved to Texas for a multi-year excavation project, she had been the butt of many insults at her grade school, her being one of the only kids there with a mutant quirk. No matter how many times she heard it, the pain of their words never stopped. She had no idea how a group of 6th graders could be so cruel, and they never even waited until she was out of earshot either. Gray, bumpy skin, sharp teeth and probably the worst hair I've ever seen. One of the girls said in the corner of their classroom with a smirk. And you're sure she's our age? Pretty sure, though her being a pudgy beanpole would fool anyone. Once again, they were right. Keita was 5 feet, 4 inches tall, a height that no normal 6th grader would be. And she never considered herself all that in shape, either. Darn it, she thought to herself, clutching her backpack as she left the room at the final bell. I need to get in shape before middle school. Her life must suck, said another girl. PSH, betcha that skin's hereditary, too. The fact that her family was being insulted on her behalf only made her feel worse. I can't take it anymore, she thought to herself. I should just go curl up and die somewhere, bump. Ah. Keita doubled back after she accidentally ran into someone, too caught up in her own thoughts to pay attention. Hey, watch it. It was a young boy, who was surrounded by a group of his own pals in the hallway. He was smaller than her, but that didn't stop his clenched teeth and thick southern accent from intimidating her. What you think you're doing, ya freako nature? I'm sorry. Keita winced as she shrunk back toward the classroom. I was just tryin' to get in my way. Huh. Keita covered her head and closed her eyes, her voice cracking in fear. And no. That's not it at all, The boy stamped his foot. Listen here, girly. People with quirks like yours ain't appreciated round these parts. Muties like you'd be better off with the know-it-all city folk where ya belong. Ha ha. Boy. The girls had come out of the classroom, cornering Keita in the hallway. Unfortunately, there were no teachers around, so no one would be able to break it up. Keita was trapped in a vice with no way to escape. Go and cry to your poor mama and dada like a good little mutant girl. Maybe they can scrounge up enough pennies to get you on a bus out of here. My parents aren't poor. They're archaeologists. Keita tried to argue, her eyes welling up with tears at this point. The boy simply scoffed while his pals all laughed. MHA. Big whoop, they study the bones that get ground up to become the oil that my dad makes. Y'all might as well just live in a museum. Or better yet, go back to Japan where you came from. The girl said as her cronies followed her lead as well. Tell All Might that Star and Stripe is running circles around what he's doing over there. Keita clenched her teeth at that. Shut up. All Might's amazing. Please, everyone knows he's running out of steam. The boy smirked, not noticing the footsteps of someone approaching from behind. By the time that geezer's gone, Star and Stripes gonna be the new symbol of peace. He scowled at Kata, approaching her with a raised fist. Now, am I gonna have to get rough with ya again, or are you gonna take a hint? Leave now and never come back. Hey! The kids all stopped as their heads snapped up, with Kata gasping at the familiar voice. There, standing behind the bragging boy, stood a muscular, normal-looking young man, about 16 years old. With his arms crossed over his chest, he bellowed, "What the hell is going on here?" If anything, the boy just seemed to brighten up. "Oh, hey man, check it," he pointed over to the whimpering yet hopeful Kata. "We were just about to give this chick a message she ain't gonna be big bro. You're here." And instantly, a cold chill went through the other kids all at once. Kata had just called him her big brother. He didn't have gray skin, though. In fact, he was tanned a brilliant bronze. The unimpressed scowl seemed to only solidify that. Why her brother? Yes. Kentaro snapped his fingers and, from around the corner, 3 teachers appeared, both of them looking rather upset. "And you all are busted." Within moments, every child there was being pulled by their arms, or even by their ears, toward the principal's office, all aside from Kata. The girl fell to her knees, in complete disbelief over what had happened. Kentaro and the one remaining teacher went over, the former kneeling and putting a hand on her shoulder. "Hey, you okay, Katie?" As it all settled in, Kata felt herself begin to lose her composure, breaking down into tears and clutching onto her brother's shoulders. Aniki. She felt his arms close around her as she sobbed into his chest, nearly drenching his shirt. Where did you come from? How did you? I figured it out, Kentaro stated, reaching down to cup her cheek and using his thumb to dry her tears. Every day when we'd go home, I'd always notice how sad you were. And when you started locking yourself in your room, I knew something must have been up. The girl was left nearly speechless. I didn't. Kata. The siblings craned their heads around just in time to see their parents come sprinting around the corner, both of them very concerned. A woman with long, dark hair and pointed teeth knelt down at her daughter's side, while a man with brown hair and gray skin wasn't far behind. "Oh, my little girl." Kata's mother practically engulfed her daughter in a hug, thankful that she was all right. "Thank God, you're safe." Mom. "Daddy," Kata muttered. "Where did you come from?" "We were here the whole time, sweetheart," Kata's father replied. Kentaro had us staking out the whole situation. The moment he told us and the teachers about what he thought was happening, we thought it necessary to catch those kids in the act. He craned his head up to the teacher. "Thank you for allowing this, by the way." The teacher nodded back. "My pleasure. This school does not tolerate bullying of any sort. The fact that this went unnoticed for so long is absolutely shameful on our part, though I have a feeling that certain teachers might have letting the students get away with it." He placed a hand over his chest, bowing to Kata. "Rest assured, as vice principal of this school, I'll do my best to weed out those responsible. But Miss Kiryu, why didn't you come to anyone beforehand?" Kata felt a knot in her stomach forming, knowing exactly why. Because of the dig." The answer took her parents and brother by surprise as she nuzzled her head against her mother's arm. I know how much this dig means to you guys. It's the biggest one you've ever done and, I didn't want to ruin it. So I put up with it." "For how long?" Kentaro asked. 2 years. At that point, the mother was beginning to cry as well, gripping her child by the shoulders so she could meet her eyes. "Kata, baby, I want you to listen to me and I want you to listen good, this never should have happened. The dig meant a lot to me and your father, yes, but you mean so much more to us than that." "Exactly." Kata's dad agreed without question, bringing his whole family in for a group hug. "You should have told us sooner, because we could have either dealt with it sooner or have you transferred to a different school." Kata could feel herself trembling when she heard that. Why you mean that? It was that simple." She received multiple nods, but if anything, that only tightened the knot in her gut. She threw her head back, belting out a loud scream as she kept crying. "Yeah, gosh dang it, I'm so freaking stupid." "You are not stupid, Kata," her mother reassured, hugging her tightly again. "You just didn't think things through. But you should never be afraid to ask someone for help." I'm sorry." Kata wept, her lips quivering. I just, They said people like me weren't welcome and thought the teachers would say the same. Well, they're part of the more unsavory families in this community. The vice principal sneered. People who have rather disgusting beliefs on people with mutation quirks. With a serious gaze, he addressed the family. It's really unfortunate, but for your sake, Miss Kiryu, I think it'd be best if you did transfer. Once their families catch wind of what happened today, they will not be happy. The Kiryu patriarch nodded in agreement. Right, of course we will. Besides, our dig will be concluding in a few months, anyways. He knelt down and placed a hand on his daughter's back, rubbing it comfortingly. Now come on, Keita, we're going to pick Kiki up from kindergarten and then we're going home. Keita gulped, trying to ease herself. But, where will I go? The year's almost over. Her mother smiled brightly at her. Oh, that's not going to be an issue, sweetie. We'll be moving back to Japan once the dig is over, and by April of next year, we'll have you in a nice, no bullying tolerated middle school. Mom, that's almost a full year away. Don't worry, sis. Kentaro winked, jerking a thumb to himself. The same goes for me, too, so until then, the world is our oyster. Whatever y'all wanna do, let's do it. The young girl almost couldn't believe it. Almost a full year away from school, it was too good to be true. No lessons, no homework, no bullying. She glanced down to her hand, reflecting on everything she had put up with over the past 2 years, before clenching it into a fist. She could just slack off for the whole year, but she had other plans. No, I won't let this opportunity go to waste. I'm going to work out, get stronger, and then when I enter junior high, I'm going to make sure that there's no bullying at my new school. She furrowed her brow up at her big brother and said, train me. You want to become a hero, right, Aniki? Please, let me in on your workout regimen. I want to get stronger so maybe I can have more confidence. Now that's not a bad idea. Keita's father approved, nodding to his son. After all, you'll be applying for UA soon, so now would be the perfect time to spend with your sister before then. Kentaro was quick to agree as well. Oh, heck yeah. Sounds good, Dad. He offered Keita a fist. Alright, so from here on, we're gonna be doing some serious training. You ready, sis? Yes. Keita bumped his fist back. Let's do it. However, even as they left the school, Keita could still hear some awful things being whispered about her, and it all lead back to that one word. Freak. Present day. Number. Not anymore. Keita's eyes snapped open the moment she heard, Keita Kiryu has been, Midnight stopped in mid-sentence as Keita shot back up to her feet, the girl gasping, breathing hard and quickly. False alarm. Resume the match. MHA. Great. Bakugo said with a wicked grin. I was hoppin', it wouldn't be that easy to take you out. Up in the stands, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Oh, man, that was a scary few seconds. Kyoka placed a hand over her chest. I was worried that Keita was out of the game. Indeed, but she's tough. Momo smiled as she glanced over to Mina, who grinned right back. After all, we've experienced it firsthand. For better, or for worse. Mina added, placing a hand over her bandaged stomach. But hey, she's back in it. Let's go, Keita. Orion, however, could see that the Soro parts user was far from 100%. Her breathing was erratic, almost as if she had been shocked out of her stupor by something. He wasn't certain what that something was, but judging by the cold sweat running down her face, it must have been fairly impactful to do so. Perhaps a memory assisted her in regaining consciousness. Either way, he knew that Keita's performance would be affected going forward. Bakugo, meanwhile, was laughing at the prospect of the fight continuing. Ha ha ha, I knew this'd be a hell of a match. He walked up to her with his hand out, his palms sparking with excitement. Come on, lizard lips, it's time we put on a real show. Take it back. What are you? I said take it back. With incredible speed that even Bakugo was surprised by, Keita whipped herself around and brought out her Apatosaurus tail again, blindsiding the ashen blonde once more. But instead of trying to send him out of bounds, she brought him straight down to the ground near her feet, where she then brought her Tyrannosaurus legs back out to stomp right on his back. You called me a freak. I should have known. With wide eyes, Bakugo tried to wriggle his hands free. Kate Kiryu, wait, It doesn't matter if you suck at names or not, bullying is still bullying. Keita screamed, glaring down as she applied more pressure. I've had to deal with that bullshit for 3 years straight. I can only imagine what it was like for Midoriya to put up with it from you for longer. You've probably said even worse stuff to him, right? You're still on this. Bakugo slipped his hands down flat against the concrete, ready to blow the area around them sky high. Try worrying about yourself for a change. Boom 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 boom. Keita yelped as multiple explosions blew up around them, forcing her off of Bakugo's back while pieces of debris hit her and hindered her vision. One explosion in particular was able to rip open a gaping hole in her pants, taking off one of her pockets, the same one that held her good luck charm. Keita went sprawling to the floor, and a few seconds later, she saw her necklace do the same. And no, she reached out to grasp the horn, only for a larger piece of debris to come straight down and crack. All at once, everything stopped for Keita. Her heart dropped down into her feet at the sight of the gift her best friend had given her, getting crushed in an instant. Her mouth hung open, staring in disbelief as tears began forming in the corners of her eyes. In a wave of pain and agony, she hung her head and began crying silently, all while hiding her face in her hands. And all while Bakugo kept egging her on. Oh, for God's sake, what now? You're freaking crying. This is a competition, and you're acting like it's the end of the world because something got broke. He pounded his fist into his palm, an explosion bursting from it. You can buy another one after we're done, now get up so I can beat you. Keita stopped weeping, her voice filled with a new amount of venom that she didn't know she was able to have. In that moment, she hated him, and she'd resolved to do everything in her power to beat him, and make him regret everything. She got up and spun around, hearing Bakugo gasp as he saw her eyes rolling into the back of her head. Keita was completely incensed. She would make him pay. Bakugo, OAAAARR. What the, holy shit. The crowd's reaction was very much the same as they saw Keita's entire body begin to change shape, becoming several times bigger within seconds, ripping through her gym clothes. Thankfully, the black jumper she wore underneath to accommodate her quirk managed to stay on, but only barely. She was forced down onto all fours, her legs becoming thick and strong as her fingers and toes retracted to become stubbier. A massive tail grew out from her rear, and along her back, a row of short yet thick spikes grew out from her spine to the base of her tail. Her hair withdrew into her skull as it fanned out into a large frill that was also lined with short spikes, all while her face elongated with a beaked mouth. Finally, from her nose and forehead, 3 deadly horns grew out, 2 long, 1 shorter. With a massive bellow that shook the entire stadium, in Keita's place was now a massive triceratops, both one and the same. The prehistoric beast's roar was directed straight at Bakugo, but everyone in attendance was left shaken to their core. Oh my god. Present Mike screamed. Keita just transformed into a triceratops. What a turn of events. Up in the stands, Class 1A and the Autobots were almost completely speechless as to what just happened. The most anyone could say was Kyoko whispering, "Holy shit," under her breath. What just happened? My guess. Jeff piped up. Bakugo ended up pushing one too many buttons. My assessment. He pointed down to the ashen blonde. That boy gone, die. Izuku and Shoto were left in very much the same state as everyone else. Even Recovery Girl was at a loss for words as they all watched, though thankfully, Marissa wasn't. What the actual hell? The Sector 7 agent whipped her head toward Izuku in astonishment. Could she do that before? No, this is the first time. Izuku answered breathlessly. She did it, Shoto whispered with a slight chuckle. She really did it. Give him hell, Kate. Wait. The moment he saw Keita's eyes on the screen, Shoto's demeanor went from exhilarated to concern, the boy slowly getting up from his bed before making a mad sprint for the door. Hold on, something's not right. Recovery Girl reached out and yelled, "Young man. Just where do you think you're going?" Todoroki. Izuku called after him as well, but to no avail. He was gone straight out the door. Back in the entry tunnel, Kentaro was on the verge of both freaking out and breaking into tears. His little sister had finally transformed into a complete dinosaur. Yes. He threw his head back in a bout of extreme laughter while holding back his tears, not letting go of this excited feeling for a second. Way to go, Katie. Big bro's so proud of you, groan. But then, Kata's roar made him stop abruptly, leaving him with an uneasy feeling. He narrowed his sights at his ceratopsian sister as she reared her head up, and saw that her eyes were completely white and hazed over. Oh god, something's wrong. Bakugo, however, was ecstatic at the sight. Ha ha ha. Yes, finally, you've stopped holding back. Just what I was waiting for. He crouched down, getting ready for another attack. Well then, come at me, Kiryu. Boom. The blonde shot himself up at a diagonal angle so that he was just above the trike's head, before sending another, powerful explosion straight into her face. If anything, this only served to make the beast even angrier as she charged straight through the blast and went to meet Bakugo as he landed. Yeah, that's right, get over here. Catch me if ya can. What in the world is Bakugo doing? Present Mike hollered in panic. He actually wants her to follow him. Those horns could freaking gore him, man. As Orion watched from the stands, he couldn't help but agree with the teacher's assessment. He's correct. If Bakugo makes one wrong move, he could get seriously hurt. Momo craned her head up to him, raising a hand. Well, I doubt that Kata would do anything to hurt Bakugo, Optimus. Of course, this match is more personal, but unfortunately, I don't think young Kata is in full control of her actions, Momo. Orion shook his head, his expression one of concern as he watched the dinosaur's movements. Her actions are unclear, erratic. I'm uncertain what happened to Kata, but I think her quirk is going out of control at the moment. I must agree. Tokiyami concurred, bringing everyone's attention to him. With her emotions running high, I think that might have been what triggered this transformation. It's very similar to what happens when my dark shadow is exposed to too much darkness. He raised his head slightly as Bakugo made a move toward the edge of the arena. Look there. Down below, the explosion user had successfully gotten toward the other side of the field, waiting as the Triceratops charged at him with her horns aimed straight for him. Perfect, come to Papa. Right as the trike was within 10 feet of him, Bakugo aimed his hands down and propelled himself into the air once more, leaving behind a trail of smoke and fire that engulfed the beast. She charged straight through, and fell off the battlefield, out of bounds. Kiryu has fallen out of the field. Midnight announced, still coming to grips with what she was seeing while Bakugo landed. The winner of the match is Bakugo, oh my god. GYAAAOOORR. Despite the rough landing, however, the Triceratops stood right back up and went for the stairs, charging back in and going for Bakugo once more. Wah. Ah. Katsuki let out a very rare scream of fear as he was chased down by the once friendly girl, forced to try and run for cover. Kiryu, the hell has gotten into you? Snap out of it. Stop this at once, young lady. Smintos leapt onto the field, placing his hands down to take control of it. He erected a large wall between Kata and Bakugo, causing her to ram into that instead of the blonde. Alright, now let's calm down and groan. Rather than follow the advice, Kata simply began charging for the two teachers instead, making Smintos's eyes widen. Oh dear, now we're the targets. Midnight. Kentaro watched in horror as Midnight went to rip her costume again, though he knew it was gonna be a 50-50 chance of working. Midnight's quirk doesn't work as good on women as it does men. So, I think I might need to. Kentaro. Ice Age whipped his head around the moment he heard his name, and a bright, hopeful smile came to him when he saw who it was. Shoto. Oh, thank God, you came at just the right time. I did. With a nod, the hero set his focus back out to where the action was, and saw that Midnight's attempt went south. Now she, Smintos and Bakugo were all being pursued by the Triceratops, and Present Mike was calling for security at the same time. You're Kata's best friend. There's no doubt in my mind that you'll be able to calm her down. Shoto pursed his lips warily. Well, yeah, but how? We need to get her to stop first. Kentaro popped a few muscles in his neck and began doing some stretches and squats, loosening himself up. Yep, and that's where I come in. He took a deep breath, slapped himself on both cheeks, and began chanting to hype himself up. Come on, Mama Mammoth. Come on, Mama Mammoth. What are you? Whoa. Without warning, the young hero dashed out, and what happened next left Shoto quite astonished. When he exited the tunnel, Kentaro's whole body, his hero costume included, began growing in size and mass, with thick, brown hair growing out of every follicle in his body. His hands and feet became massive padded feet, his legs now long and quite powerful. His ears grew big and flappy while his nose elongated into a huge trunk. Finally, two of his teeth grew out into a pair of dynamic, curved tusks, which glistened in the sun. Everyone in the stadium were greeted by the sound of a loud trumpet before Kentaro announced his arrival. Kyodai na kiba mastu riku no boss. The Pleistocene hero reared up on his hindlegs, stomping forcefully on the ground. Mammoth. The huge, prehistoric elephant went thundering into the field as the spectators watched, raising his trunk as he added, Hanakara climax da z. Shoto was both stunned and confused. Was that a reference to something? Gah, never mind, gotta save Keita. Someone stop this crazy thing. Bakugo screamed as he and the teachers were still being chased down, but thankfully, that didn't last very long. WAAAAAOOOOON. The loud trumpet took them off guard, as did the powerful wham just a few seconds later. All three of them fell to the grass and spun around, their jaws falling open when they saw that the woolly mammoth had charged into Keita, scooping her up with his tusks to slam her into the stadium wall. Ultimate attack, Hisatsu Dosudosu Taozu Mammoth. With a quick jerk of his head, Kentaro wrenched Keita up and tossed her away, a feat of strength that left her tumbling across the grass and into the opposite wall. Kentaro quickly pinned her down with his tusks and called for the half-and-half user. Shoto. Go. Right. Shoto slid down next to Keita, who was thankfully still in a bit of a daze. Keita, come on, snap out of it. He reached up and gently caressed the trike's thick hide near her cheek, hoping to soothe her. Kentaro began doing the same with his trunk along her back and belly as well. It's okay. It's me, Shoto, Kentaro and I are here for you. The Triceratops blinked slowly as her breathing slowed down, recognizing the voice that was whispering to her. Before long, Keita's eyes rolled back forward and the deep bellowed became tired groans, her form starting to revert back to normal. When she was fully back to being human, Keita's eyes shut immediately, drifting deep into unconsciousness. Thank God. Shoto breathed out. Kentaro followed suit, returning to his human form while keeping his hand on his sister. You got that right, thank God her suit held up, though. Wait, Kentaro. The hero moved his head around to see Midnight and Smintas approaching, all while Bakugo hung back. I wasn't expecting you to. Miss Midnight, she's my little sister. Ice Age stated as he picked Keita up, holding her securely in his arms. The moment I saw what happened, I knew I had to help her. Truth be told, something similar happened to me when I first transformed like that. He gave them a single nod. Now, I'll be taking her to the nurse's office. You'd best, thank you. Midnight affirmed before realizing something. Oh, wait, just a moment. She dashed over back to the field and began searching through the rubble, leaving the others a bit perplexed. But the moment she said, "Aha," they saw what she was searching for. Here, she dropped this. Shoto's eyebrows rose up immediately. It was the necklace he had given her. It was slightly cracked, but somehow, it had remained intact. When Midnight came over, he reached his hand out for her to give him the trinket, making sure to hold it gently yet securely. Oh, thank you. She'll be very glad to see this is okay. I'm sure. After all, I think that's what triggered this whole mess. Now, get her inside, quickly. Keita awoke with a start, inhaling sharply as a wave of different sensations hit her all at once. She wasn't on the harsh floor of the battlefield anymore, instead feeling a firm mattress below. And when she realized she wasn't in her gym clothes anymore either, that sent her into high alert and made her snap right up straight. What the, where, how did I? Whoa, Keita. She felt a comforting hand settle on her shoulder and push her back down, where she saw her brother, along with Shoto, Midoriya, Recovery Girl and Marissa all staring down at her in concern. Relax, everything's okay. Kentaro soothed. You had us all incredibly worried, dearie. Recovery Girl added with a soft smile. Marissa nodded, a feeling of relief washing over her. Yeah, thankfully your injuries only extended to minor cuts and bruises, but even then. The gray-skinned girl blinked, still perplexed as to what was happening. I don't understand. What happened? She reached for her head, trying to remember. All I remember was I was really angry at Bakugo and then, nothing. Wait, you don't remember all that? Izuku asked. Keita raised a brow. Remember what? Oh god, I didn't do anything embarrassing like slip and KO myself, did I? And no, nothing like that. Shoto reassured. But you did give the audience something to remember. If anything, that made Keita even more worried, which led Shoto to grab the remote for the TV. It's probably best that you see it for yourself. And so, that's exactly what they did. Everyone sat in silence as Keita watched herself go on her rampage, the girl both astonished and incredibly mortified. I transformed. She stared down at her hands in fear and amazement. I finally changed into a full dinosaur, but I don't even remember it or how it, wait. Keita gasped in horror as she recalled, wait. I remember that I was angry at Bakugo because, and no. Izuku tilted his head, seeing her mood change. What's the matter, Kiryu? Hesitantly, Keita moved her head up to Shoto, her eyes filled with sadness. Shoto, I'm sorry. I couldn't keep my promise. The tooth you gave me, it got. Oh, you mean this? Shoto, with a warm smile, pulled the charm out from his pocket, making Keita gasp again. Just barely a crack in it. Pretty sure these are made out of some pretty hard stuff, so. Keita cried as she shot up again and put her arms around Shoto in a soul-crushing hug, her hand reaching into his to secure her charm. It's okay. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Shoto, I knew it was good luck. Even when she let go of the boy, it was clear that he wasn't going to stop blushing. They could practically see the steam wafting from his face, it was so hot. Keita laced the necklace around her neck, breathing a sigh of relief. There, back where it belongs, though I can't say it brought me much luck this time. Guess I'm out of the competition, and no doubt I probably blew my chance with any agencies. Oh, I wouldn't say that, dearie. Recovery girl contested. After all, quirks like yours can often go out of control, especially at such a young age. So, any understanding hero would be able to help you gain control over it, I'm sure. Keita's eyes moved down, still feeling uncertain. Well, maybe, but, All of a sudden, they all heard the doorknob click open, and from there, a surprising group of people entered the office. Orion Pax, All Might Principal Nezu, and Aizawa all entered, the three of them all visibly concerned. Hello, everybody. Greetings, Miss Kiryu. Nezu raised his little paw, wearing his usual grin. I hope you are doing well after what happened. The girl wore a sheepish smile, her hand going to her neck. Well, I'm alright physically if that's what you mean. Emotionally, that's a different story. I'll bet. All Might concurred. That was quite the ordeal to go through. But please, don't feel bad. Accidents happen, and that's exactly what this was. Orion and Aizawa both approached her bed, the former's tone quite solemn. Indeed. However, the other reason we have come here is because I suspect that there was something specific that caused this accident. The Autobot leader approached Keita's bedside, bowing his head. Young Keita, I realize that sharing something like this will be rather hard, but we would like to know exactly why you were so mad with Bakugo down there. Aizawa finished, also gravely stern yet understanding. Whatever happened, it's obvious that if it made you that mad, it can't be good. If it's something serious, then the teachers have to know about it. So please, if there's anything you're willing to share, tell us now, if you would. Keita, Izuku and Shoto all stared at the adults for a couple seconds before the Soro Parts user took a deep breath, glancing between the two boys. In their eyes, she could see that she had their support, with Izuku even giving a reluctant nod. I think, it might be for the best to tell them now, he said. Right. Keita agreed, her gaze meeting the four adults. Okay, here's what happened. Chapter 34, Sports Festival Finale. Midoriya vs. Bakugo. Starscream had to admit, the last battle before the finals had proven to be quite interesting, for lack of a better term. Granted, considering that the young human known as Bakugo was one of the contenders, that wasn't much of a surprise. However, it was his opponent who ended up piquing his interest, and subsequently rattling him quite a bit. The girl known as Keita Kiryu, in a fit of rage that even Blastwave would be impressed by, if he was awake, had transformed into a massive, tri-horned beast that immediately gave chase after Bakugo, and subsequently stumbled out of the ring. But even then, the animal had kept her pursuit up, making Bakugo and the other two teachers run for their lives. And if that weren't enough, another, much larger and hairier beast had took to the field as well, stopping Keita by scooping it up in its trunks and tossing her around. Much to the confusion of every Decepticon there, the hairy animal then soothed the savage Keita along with Todoroki for some reason, resulting in her changing back to normal. The trunked beast then changed into a man and carried Keita to the back, leaving the cons at a loss for words. Well, that happened. Frenzy finally said something. Mein Gott, it was quite the sequence of events, that is for certain. Flatline affirmed. Whatever that girl's power is, it has proven to be very potent. Nitro clicked her metal tongue and shook her head. Tisk, shame she lost, though. I was actually kinda rooting for the chica. She's a powerhouse. Shadow Striker was quick to agree. Though I cannot help but feel that her form is, a little familiar. Yes, I feel as if I've seen it before as well. Starscream echoed, his optics trailing up to Megatron on the opposite screen. Lord Megatron, if I'm remembering right, you had tasked Shockwave with experimenting on the Lightning Strike Coalition force in order to give them new, bestial alternate forms, correct? I believe that one was specifically given to Slug, if I recall correctly. Megatron nodded. Indeed, Starscream. I realized it the moment she transformed. He leaned forward in his seat, resting his hand on his hands in thought. Unless I am mistaken, it would seem that this planet is the exact same one from which Shockwave derived beast forms that he bequeathed unto Grimlock and his team. He narrowed his optics in suspicion. Quite the coincidence, wouldn't you say? Or perhaps it is not. Unicronus suggested. After all, given that there are apparently Cybertronian relics on this planet, it's safe to assume that the Earth has been tied to Cybertronian activity for a long while now. What significance could this planet have to us, I wonder? Megatron pondered to himself before shaking his head. HMPH, no matter. Until we find evidence to the contrary, it is safer to not assume anything. I'm all for that, Lord Megatron. Skywarp voiced his opinion before giving a smirk. But man, now things are finally kicking up a few notches. First that incredibly icy hot duel between Midoriya and Todoroki, then the monstrous rampage that Kiryu took to Bakugo. The Seeker glanced up to the screen, seeing the match graphic for Bakugo vs. Midoriya. And now, it all comes down to this. Boom Boy battles Bone Breaker. Swift quipped, proud of her alliteration. Bet it'll be a big blast. Thundercracker folded his arms, anticipating the fight to come. I'm eager to see how this goes, too. From what I can tell, I think these two have been gunning for each other since the start, or at least Bakugo's been gunning for the top spot. Barricade gave a hollow chuckle. Hey, well, no matter who wins, this match is gonna be a bloodbath, no question. Megatron leaned back in his chair, awaiting the match to start. Indeed, I believe this young Bakugo to be quite the destructive force. Let us see if he's able to make do on the promise he made at the beginning. And that's pretty much the whole story. Keita took a deep breath after divulging what had happened out on the battlefield, feeling a little better after doing so. Of course, her story had gotten the reaction that she was expecting from the teachers, stunned silence. She couldn't blame them, honestly, especially considering the subject matter. I know, it's a lot to take in, but it's true. Bakugo, to be quite frank, he's not hero material, at least not in my eyes. I see, this is most troubling indeed. Nezu brought a paw up to his face, keeping his grin despite the severity of the news. But, Miss Kiryu, you really should have come to see us when this whole thing started. If you had, we would have been able to help much faster. Keita bowed her head apologetically. I'm sorry. I've never been very good at asking others for help. Understatement of the century. Kentaro muttered, only for Shoto to elbow him in the ribs. Oof. Hey, just saying. Whatever the case, this is very serious. All Might continued, the number one hero maintaining his own smile albeit with a serious edge in his features. He extended a hand to Keita and Izuku. From what you've told us, young Bakugo may be experiencing a clear case of sociopathic behavior. Being aggressively passionate is one thing, but looking down on everyone around you, including your own classmates, is a much heftier situation. He eyed Izuku in particular, the greenette shrinking under his gaze. And you, young Midoriya, you said you were a frequent target of this back in middle school. Izuku swallowed hard, feeling absolutely horrible for keeping a secret from the one person he venerated the most in life. Why, yes, it's true. He hung his head in shame. I've been on the receiving end of his bullying since we were in kindergarten, actually. That served to make All Might's jaw drop. Young Midoriya, why did you not tell me this sooner? And to add to that, how did no teachers notice it sooner? Orion furthered. Well, it wasn't as bad when we were in kindergarten or grade school. Izuku explained. Teachers would be quick to catch him, at least while we were on school grounds. The local playground was mostly fair game. He winced a little before moving on. But, when we were in Aldera Junior High, Aizawa immediately answered that, the teachers allowed it to happen. They turned a blind eye to it because of Bakugo's talent, didn't they? A collective gasp ran through almost the whole nurse's office. What? That's nuts, Marissa shouted. Why would they do such a thing? Orion questioned, wearing a grave and frankly perturbed expression. Especially since young Izuku was thought to be quirkless at the time. What would have to be going through their minds to leave a defenseless child alone in such a manner? The erasure hero let out a despondent sigh, having seen this situation too many times to count. Unfortunately, it all boils down to reputation. Everyone remained deathly silent as Aizawa explained. Whenever a high-caliber, well-talented student such as Bakugo enters middle school, often those schools will go out of their way to make sure that student receives absolutely no blemishes on their records in order for them to get into a good hero school, predominantly UA. Indeed, it is quite troubling to see unfold. Nezu nodded, his grin belying his grave tone. I've seen several schools be forced to shut down for such activity, many incidents of which I've reported personally. Bullying, embezzlement, extortion, I have witnessed several students get away with many things simply because they know they're talented enough that the school will let it slide, just so their reputation can increase. All Might balled his fist in frustration. It's a corruptive system that makes me ill to think about. These teachers and faculty members, they're no better than villains in these scenarios. Ironic, given the circumstances. Shoto stepped forward, asking, so, in cases like these, what do you normally do? Nezu raised his paw. Well, as I've said, I report the case to the union and, more than likely, the school will be shut down. We simply cannot allow such a corruptive system to continue. While that served to give Izuku mixed feelings, it was the other end of the problem that he was more concerned over. And, what about Kachan? Will you expel him? That depends on the severity of his actions. Nezu clarified. If this were a true crime such as blackmail or the like, then yes, he would be. In the cases of bullying, however, a brief suspension is the more likely scenario. Keita slammed her hands down on her bed with a snarl. That's it. He abuses the system for years and all he gets is a week or two away from school. That might as well be a slap on the wrist. In response, however, Aizawa closed his eyes and shook his head. Miss Kiryu, that couldn't be farther from the truth. His eyes opened, and there seemed to be a mirthful glint in them. See, while Bakugo won't be coming to school, he'll be experiencing some unique rehabilitation. Of course, we'll be bringing in a psychiatrist, and he'll have several sessions with guidance counselor Hound Dog, but we'll also be bringing in several heroes to assist. Oh ho, I'm certain that Gang Orca will be thrilled to have a new protege. All Might said with a smirk. Given how his last one turned out, I'm positive that Bakugo will be left with quite the impact made on him. He raised a finger to make a suggestion. Oh, but if I may, perhaps Best Jeanist would be well suited to this form of rehabilitation as well. After all, he's been able to help several students in the past as well. Izuku, Shoto and Keita all stared at the teachers in shock. Gang Orca, and Best Jeanist. The quirk inheritor muttered. Good God, Bakugo might be a whole different person by the time he's back. Keita muttered. Not necessarily. Nezu wagged a finger. Several students never really have that drastic of a change, but they do often come back having learned the values that we at UA find to be acceptable among the student body. Aizawa clarified with, namely, that any villainous behavior is not to be tolerated. Keita let out a sigh and leaned back on her pillow. Yeah, I guess that is a good start, at least, but are you sure it's not too late to pull him out of the festival? Her homeroom teacher raised a brow. Well, we're already at the finals, so that'd prove to be problematic. The audience are expecting a grand, climactic battle for first place, after all. All Might pondered, tapping his chin. But for the safety of young Midoriya, perhaps it would be best if we. Please don't do that, Izuku yelled, taking everybody aback. Not when we're so close to the end. Everyone in the room had all eyes on him at that point, the adults especially shocked at his response. Midoriya, what are you? Aizawa started, only to get cut off. Listen, if you feel like you should suspend Kacchan for what he's done, then I can accept that, but the last thing I want is for him to be taken out of the sports festival. The conviction in Izuku's voice was heard by all, which only served to stun them even more. I know that doesn't make much sense coming from me since I'm one of his victims, but I genuinely believe that Kacchan does have what it takes to be a good hero. His ideals may not be skewed toward traditional heroism, but the fact that he never gives up despite the odds is something that I, admittedly, admire about him. Shoto and Keita were awestruck by what Izuku was saying, the latter letting out a breath of disbelief. Midoriya, I'm pretty sure you can't mean that. I do. Izuku pressed firmly, furrowing his brow at Keita. Kiryu, I appreciate you wanting to look out for me, but I've known Kacchan since we were toddlers. I know him better than anyone here, and while he has his vices, he's also not completely hopeless. We have to believe that a person can change for the better, otherwise, we can't call ourselves heroes, can we? While everyone else was still left utterly silent, All Might and Orion were beaming with pride, the pro-hero even sniffling as he rubbed a finger beneath his nose. SNF. That's exactly what I would hope to hear from you, young Midoriya. You're absolutely right, we must believe that young Bakugo can learn to become a great hero and a better person at UA, otherwise we've failed already. Orion nodded as well. Indeed, I believe young Izuku is right on the money. He eyed Aizawa and Nezu with a serious gaze. Moreover, I believe it would be best to be careful in handling young Bakugo's situation. I once had a friend whose vices took hold of him and dragged him down the path of villainy, and the same could happen to Bakugo should he give in to his darker inhibitions. All Might craned his head down toward Principal Nezu, giving a thumbs up. Nezu, sir, I propose we leave Bakugo in the competition. Whether he wins or Midoriya wins, in the end, your plans with him will be the same, correct? Nezu was quick to agree. Indeed, I'm very much all for the idea. I suppose it'll be alright. Aizawa muttered. Though be warned, I won't go easy on Bakugo once the festival is over, even after his suspension. If he wants to be a hero, then he'll have to prove it to remain in UA. His sights zeroed in on Izuku. Am I clear? Anything else like this happens, he's out. I understand, Mr. Aizawa. Izuku sighed. Good, now I suggest you get ready. The homeroom teacher pointed over to the TV, where Smintos was just finishing the repairs to the battlefield. Your match will be starting soon. Keita leaned forward, sending her own serious gaze toward her green-haired friend. Midoriya, I can only hope you're right about Bakugo. I might not be a big fan of the choice you're making here, but all the same, she cracked a smile and gave him a wink. Good luck, and beat his ass real good. Shoto reached a fist out to his new friend. My sentiments exactly. Win this, Midoriya, for all of us. Izuku reciprocated with a fist bump. I'll do my best. Wait, Izuku, before you go, Marissa pointed down toward his hands. A word of warning, you've already broken your hands quite a few times today. Your right hand in particular is pretty banged up. She locked eyes with him, making sure he was paying attention. My quirk might be powerful, but it becomes less and less effective the more I have to heal the same body part multiple times in a short amount of time. You break that hand again, it could leave a permanent mark. The news took Izuku aback for a moment, letting that settle in as he directed his sights down to his hand. Permanent, After a few seconds' contemplation, Izuku balled his fist in determination, his eyes filled with the same feeling. Whatever it takes to win, Agent Fairborn. I see, Marissa's lips curled into a smirk, closing her eyes. Hey, well, I suppose there's no stopping you there. Just, prepare for surgery if needed. Gotcha. Izuku took a deep breath and went straight for the door, looking back once more to everyone with a bright smile. Well, off I go. I'll catch you guys later. With one last farewell, Izuku left the room, shut the door behind him, and was immediately met with someone crashing into him. Shoot. A familiar voice said as they braced themselves against Izuku's chest. The greenette's eyes shot open, and his hunch was confirmed the moment he saw her face. Izuku. Kyoka. His hands moved up in concern, seeing the earphone jack user breathing hard and clearly in a hurry. What are you doing down here? Shouldn't you be up in? But he didn't get to finish as Kyoka reached up and clung to his collar, hearing a panicked edge in her voice as she ordered, "That's not important, you've gotta come with me right now." Izuku let himself be dragged by Kyoka a little bit, but was still utterly baffled by what was happening. I don't understand, what's going? Izuku, it's Iida, Kyoka said with a grave tone, her eyes filled with concern. More accurately, it's his brother. A villain got ingenium. She saw an immediate change in Izuku's eyes at that moment, and before she knew it, Kyoka was the one being dragged behind him. Down in the lower corridors, Mei was pacing back and forth, impatiently waiting for Izuku and Kyoka to show up. She, along with every one of her other friends, had gone down there with Tenya almost immediately after he had gotten the news via a phone call from his mother. The Autobots had also accompanied them, concerned for the well-being of their friend's brother. Unfortunately for Mei, she didn't do well with such high-stress situations, and the waiting was killing her. "Come on, Jackie, we don't have all, huh?" The sound of approaching footsteps were her salvation, and from around the corner, Izuku and Kyoka appeared. "There you guys are." The team's attention was instantly brought up to the duo, all of them relieved to see the greenette in particular. "Midoriya, good." Momo sighed. "I was worried you wouldn't be able to make it in time." Izuku gave her a brief nod. "I wasn't about to waste time getting here after Kyoka told me." His eyes searched the crowd before he saw his spectacled friend moving up to the front, appearing visibly shaken. "Iida. Midoriya." Tenya breathed out, bowing his head in apology. "I know this is sudden, but I have to leave now. As you might have heard, a villain got my older brother." "I did hear," Izuku confirmed. "Ingenium, is he? He is hurt, yes, but he is alive. Aside from that, I don't know many details yet." Tenya explained, parts of his face twitching uncomfortably. "That's why I must go right away." He took a deep breath and extended his hand to his friend. "But, I would be remiss not to wish you luck on the way out. You are so close to victory, Midoriya, so please, I ask that you do your best in the finals." With a resolute stare, Izuku extended his hand to shake Tenya's. "I will, for the sake of everyone." He reached up and placed a firm hand on Tenya's shoulder. "And you, please, go see your brother." Tenya bowed his head graciously. "I will, thank you." Strongarm's holoform came up, giving Tenya a salute with a sympathetic gaze. "Permission to escort you to Hosu General Hospital, Tenya." What? Tenya questioned. "Strongarm, the fastest way to get there is by train, you can't." Correction, RC spoke up. "Train used to be the fastest way to get there. Now, we've got ground bridges." She nudged her head toward Strongarm. "And besides, I'm pretty sure a police escort will get you there much faster than any train." Tenya pressed his lips together in uncertainty. "Strongarm, are you sure?" The Autobot cadet placed a hand on Tenya's arm, giving it a reassuring squeeze. "Sure as the day is long, partner. Let's get you to your brother." "All right then, let's go." With that, the duo turned down the hall and started walking off, giving one final wave to their comrades before rounding the next corner toward the exit. After letting out a breath he didn't know he was holding, Izuku slumped against the nearby wall, holding a hand to his forehead. "Man, first Keita's situation and now this really isn't how I expected the end of the sports festival to go." Wait, what about Keita? Mina asked worriedly. "Is she okay?" Ochako furthered. "After she transformed and went on that rampage, we've all been super concerned." Izuku quickly held up his hands in reassurance. Oh, please, don't worry, she's more than all right. It's just," Izuku sighed and lowered his arms, his gaze moving toward his red shoes with a frown adorning his lips. "I think you guys should know something. Keita and I were asked by Mr. Aizawa, All Might and Principal Nezu about what might have happened down there earlier and, well, you fessed up, didn't you?" Kyoka guessed, taking him and everyone else off guard. About Bakugo, right. At her words, Bumblebee immediately knew what was going on, his holoform's expression becoming quite stern as well. Huh, Izuku, what are they talking about? Bulkhead asked. Denki tilted his head. Yeah, what's the deal, Midoriya? Something bad happened. Well, Izuku scratched the back of his head. You could say that. From there, he proceeded to tell everyone about what had happened in the medical room, as well as his past experiences with Bakugo and how the Ashen Blonde's words were what made Keita snap earlier. By the end, every Autobot and classmate there was left with their jaws hanging open and their eyes as wide as dinner plates, which was exactly what Izuku had expected. And, that's pretty much it. Now, you guys know everything. Oh, my god. Momo's hands covered her mouth. Midoriya, how could you keep something like that bottled up for so long? Mei's eyes were darting in all directions, trying to make sense of all of that. Geez, muscles. I had no idea you. Bam. Graah. Damn it. Much to everyone's shock, Eijiro had hit the wall with his hardened fist, breaking a big hole into it as he channeled his anger. I should have known. How the hell didn't I see it in the first place? Bullying ain't mainly. To think I even tried making friends with that jackass. Kei Kirishima, please, don't beat yourself, or the wall, up over this. Izuku went over, standing behind the spiky redhead as he put a hand to his shoulder. In all honesty, I should have come clean about this sooner. I didn't want to ruin Bakugo's opportunity. Without warning, Eijiro spun back around and met Izuku's eyes with a resolute glare. Well, why not, huh? Come on, Midoriya, you can't be serious about that. He's a bully. Jazz curled his lips distastefully. Yeah, I mean, what's to stop us from thinking that what he did to Ochako out there was done just because he wanted to be mean to someone? Stop. Surprisingly enough, Ochako herself was the one to speak up about that, her brows furrowed at the Autobot lieutenant. Jazz, I appreciate the concern, but I don't think that was Bakugo's intent at all. He wants everyone to give it their all against him so that he can prove that he's the strongest student here. Like he said at the start of the festival, he intends to win here, not bully people. Okay, so what about what happened with Keita? RC interjected. He called her a freak of nature, didn't he? Izuku cringed at that. Unfortunately, knowing Kacchan for as long as I have, he probably had no idea that would trigger her rage. He's not one to be known to choose his words, his mouth often says things before his brain thinks it through. So he's inconsiderate and a bully. Denki deduced, folding his arms over his chest. Honestly, that's not endearing us to him all that much. Yeah, not really your best argument, Izuku. Sunstreaker added. The Greenette raised his hands, trying to calm everything down. Okay, I get it, Kacchan is a jerk, but I still think that there might be hope for him yet. He still wants to be a hero, that much I know is true. He winced as he admitted, yes, his ideals for what makes a hero are very skewed, but my hope is that being at UA will improve his outlook in that regard. Kirishima folded his arms, not too convinced. Oh yeah, and how do you think that can happen? Well, having a friend could help. Really? After what you just told me? Izuku's shoulders slumped at that. Kirishima, out of everyone in class, I think he holds the most respect for you, and that's saying something. The fact that he remembers your name now only proves that. Eijiro raised a brow. And so you want me to keep trying to be friends with him? Considering what I heard Aizawa's likely going to put him through, I think he might need a friend to get him through all that. The One for All inheritor recoiled at the thought. Having both Gang Orca and Best Jeanist helping him out won't make anything easier for him either. All I'm saying is, give him a chance, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But please, I don't want to just give up on him. As much as Eijiro wanted to deny it, that situation did sound pretty hellish, even for Bakugo. 3 of the strictest pros imaginable, and 2 were even in the top 10. Grr, man, Midoriya, that's probably the manliest thing I've ever heard. The fact that you still wanna help Bakugo even after all the crap he put ya through, what the heck. He extended a hand toward the Greenette. I'll do my best, Midoriya. And, well, who knows? Maybe I can unearth some of Bakugo's better qualities. If he has any, Kyoka muttered. Izuku sighed as he shook the redhead's hand. That's all I can ask for, thank you. Sideswipe came over and put an arm over Eijiro's shoulders in support. And hey, don't you worry either, Eiji. He jerked a proud thumb to his chest, wearing a confident grin. Your old pal Sideswipe will be there to help ya along the way. I've been known to be a master at dealing with bullies. Sunstreaker deadpanned at that. You mean like how the Stunticons left you hanging on an oil rig by your rear fender and you cried yourself into stasis that one time? Ignoring that, Sideswipe bit back before patting Eijiro on the back. Point is, I've got your back on this one. Huh, thanks Sides. Eijiro fist bumped his partner. I appreciate that. Just then, Present Mike's voice could be heard blaring through the hallway, bringing everyone's attention toward the tunnel exit. Alright. We've got a clean battlefield once again, so now, it's finally time for the main event. At that, Izuku took a deep breath, smiling to his friends. Well, it's time. Good luck, Muscles. Mei gave him a thumbs up. We're all rooting for you. Momo brought her fists up in determination. Yes, go out there and win this thing. We believe in you. And hey, Kyoka reached up and took a hold of Izuku's collar once again, wearing a smirk while winking at him. Beat his ass once for me, okay. I'll do my best. Izuku stammered, a little blush on his cheeks as he made his way out toward the field. The roar of the crowd was deafening as the final two competitors took to the raised cement platform, their eyes locking onto one another the second they entered each other's view. Bakugo's near-permanent scowl bored into Izuku, but the quirk inheritor wasn't about to let up on his own piercing glare. Not now. Woohoo. Alright, it's time to partay. Present Mike exclaimed, spinning around in his seat before slamming his hands on his desk. The moment that you've all been waiting for is finally here, folks. It's main event time. Ya know him, you love at least one of them. It's Izuku Midoriya versus Katsuki Bakugo. Izuku's glower deepened at his opponent. So, it's come down to this. HMPH, I was hoppin', it'd be you. Katsuki smirked. Deku, I'm sure you've been itchin' for this just as much as I have. The wielder of One for All closed his eyes calmly. In truth, I never cared who I would face off with in the final round. Bakugo blinked at that, recoiling slightly. What? You heard me. I would have been happy with fighting against you, Kiryu, Yaoyorozu, Kirishima, Tetsu, Ishido, even Kyoka or Uraraka. He opened his eyes, his resolute stare meeting Bakugo's shocked gaze. No matter the opponent, I still would hope for a good, clean match. And I'd say, may the best student win, as well. Katsuki sneered, scoffing as he turned his chin up to him. HMPH. Ya might wanna choose those last words carefully, Deku. 'Cause that best student, is me. That's what I'm here to prove. Izuku lowered his head, knowing that would be one of his retorts. Of course, you'd say that. You always go on about how being the best is everything. To be honest, that's something I admire about you, Kachan, the fact that you never give up. He raised a clenched fist and yelled straight at his childhood friend, well get this. I'm not about to give up either. But I'm going to prove that I'm strong in my own way. Once again, Bakugo seemed taken aback by his words. That was a level of conviction he hadn't heard from the nerd in, well, ever, to be honest. What the hell's gotten into him? Does he know something that I don't? He quickly shook his head to reset his thoughts. Grr, whatever. He pointed at his opponent. Tell me, Deku, you remember our first training class a couple months back? How you got that win over me? Katsuki widened his stance and clenched his fingers, small explosions beginning to dance across his hands. Well, I hope you enjoyed that win, because today, you won't be getting Aneth. Battle, begin. Zoom. Ak. With impressive speed that took him by surprise, Bakugo was suddenly sucker punched right in the jaw by Izuku, the greenette having activated full cowling the second Present Mike gave the word. Katsuki never lost his footing, though he was very close. What the hell? Didn't see that coming, huh? Izuku dashed forward, bringing a fist back. There's more where that came from. This time, however, Bakugo was ready. He aimed his hands at the ground and let loose a small blast that made him leap into the air, the small burst allowing him to dodge before bringing a hand forward. You just got lucky, Deku. Boom. Izuku was blown back several feet by the explosion, his gym jacket getting scorched and torn up in the process. Still, he wouldn't give in. Focusing back on full cowling, he began dashing around the arena in a zigzag pattern, hoping it would be too erratic for Bakugo to follow. The second he closed in for a punch from behind, however, the ashen blonde spun around and raised his hand. Boom. Ah. This time, Izuku was able to dodge by sliding, only to be met with a strong kick in the side. Not happenin'. Eat this. Boom 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 boom. With several sequential blasts, Bakugo sent a barrage toward Izuku, forcing the greenette to back off and raise his arms, shielding his face. Unfortunately, this also hindered his vision, meaning he didn't see the next move from his opponent. Die. Boom. With a strong swing, Bakugo blasted the battlefield, kicking up scorched debris that made Izuku go tumbling back. Wowee. Bakugo's got Midoriya on the back foot. Present Mike said in excitement. Could this be where the most dominant force in the sports festival goes down for the count? Bakugo was much less enthusiastic about this, however. What's the matter, Deku? You got some pretty powerful attacks, but you're not trying hard enough. Boom boom boom. He sent several more explosions at Izuku, only for the greenette to leap up through the smoke, going for a powerful punch, which Katsuki caught effortlessly. He reached out with his other hand, grabbing Izuku by his hair. Are you underestimating me, you damn nerd? With an acrobatic flip, Bakugo flew over Izuku and used the momentum to toss him straight over his head and toward the other side of the field. Izuku would have landed outside the boundary line, but he quickly collected himself and rolled into a crouch, using full cowling to rush back around toward Bakugo. Damn it, he's able to keep up. That sucker punch only made him more aware of what I can do. Out the corner of his eye, Izuku could see Bakugo flying at him via explosions, so he ultimately decided to go for broke. Well, here goes nothing. He twisted himself around and, just as he expected, it was a right hook, and he caught it without fail before tossing Bakugo away. Back in the entry tunnel, the Autobots and their human companions watched with intense eyes as the two boys battled it out. They all remained deathly silent while the match went on, their concern for Izuku evident across their faces. However, they were so transfixed on the match that they didn't even notice their own leader approaching from behind. Ah, there you all are. Prime greeted, making everyone jump. Ah. Sideswipe shrieked as he spun around, only to sigh the moment he saw Optimus. Ha, Big Bot, it's just you. Don't spook us like that, please. Sunstreaker raised a brow at him. Ah, you're the only one who screamed, Sideswipe. Yeah, still got nothing on Jazz's girly scream, though. Kyoka snickered. Jazz pursed his lips, narrowing his eyes at the punk rocker. Sure, he shook his head and smiled up to his commander. So, what's the haps, Op? Well, I happened to run into Strongarm and Tenya on my way here. Optimus said solemnly, seeing the other teens and his team also become serious at that. I see. It is rather disconcerting to hear such news. I only hope that Tenya's brother will pull through. So do we, Prime. May nodded, her crosshair eyes shifting back to the fight. But honestly, there's two big things that we've gotta worry about here right now. Optimus hummed in agreement. Indeed. I take it that Izuku told you all the truth as well. Yeah, though B and I knew about it for a while. Kyoka added, which Bumblebee nodded at as well. Sorry that we didn't tell anyone sooner, but Izuku was keen on keeping it under wraps for a while there. Who knew it'd take Bakugo snapping at Keita to make him spill the beans? I will say that it is unfortunate that Bakugo is a rather cantankerous individual. Prime concurred as he watched Izuku counter one of Bakugo's moves, throwing him away with great strength. However, Izuku has told me and several others that it would be detrimental to consider him a lost cause, and I cannot help but agree. Somewhere within Bakugo lies the spark of a true hero, one whose ideals may not align with a traditional hero, but a hero nonetheless. The team were left rather surprised by that. Hey, would ya look at that? RC mused. Prime's got hope for the explosion boy. Guess that's one thing that Bakugo's got going for him. Back on the battlefield, Katsuki himself was beginning to lose what little patience he had. Grah, stop screwing around, he barked as he landed on his feet. What, do you think I'm not worthy of your full power? What? Grr, you bastard. Bakugo thrust a finger at Izuku, snarling, "I'll tell you what'll happen if you make a fool outta." "What?" Izuku snapped, interrupting the explosive blonde and, once again, taking him off guard. "Tell me, what you could possibly do me that you haven't done already, Kachan?" Exclamation mark. "You've done nothing but bully, belittle and look down on me since kindergarten, while I've pretty much the exact opposite for all my life." He balled his fists in frustration as he glowered at Bakugo. "To tell you the truth, when you got your quirk and I didn't, I admired you so damn much, while also feeling a bit jealous, I'll admit. But then, when I finally discovered my quirk, I realized something, I could finally be like you. I could be a hero, and then maybe we'd finally be on even footing." Should we be hearing this right now?" Present Mike muttered to his co-commentator. "Let it play out," Aizawa replied. "The problem child needs to vent to the other problem child." Izuku's glare hardened further. "But if these finals have told me anything, it's that you still think yourself is superior to others. You're at the center of your own universe while you look down on everyone else, seeing them as nothing but stepping stones on your way to the top." Bakugo had absolutely no response as Izuku's small speech carried on, finding nothing to deny in his statement. "Well, guess what, I'm not gonna be like that. My dream is the same as yours, to be number one. And I am not gonna let you walk over me and trample that dream." But, if anything, this just made Bakugo sneer even more. Sure, what Deku just said threw him for a loop, but in the end, his goal was still to win against him at his full power. "TCH, ya gotta learn to leave this shit in the past, Deku." He wrenched his neck, popping a few muscles to loosen up as he readied his own hands. "Now listen up. I don't want there being any doubt that I'm the best student at the festival, and that's only possible if you come at me with the same amount of power you used against Icy Hot. You want my full power." Izuku brought his fists up, both arms beginning to glow with power. "Well, Kachan, you got it. Bring it." "Haha. Yes." Bakugo hollered as he blasted himself toward, his lips curling into a sadistic smirk. "Finally, this is what I've been waiting for. Show everyone that you're trying to destroy me, Deku." As he flew, Katsuki began rapidly blasting himself around so that he was spinning through the air, increasing his speed to the point that he made the smoke around him swirl with him. "If you're gonna face me, you can't half-ass it," the young man thought with glee as he closed in. "Try everything you can to defeat me and don't you dare hold back." Izuku briefly peered over his shoulder, smiling as he saw all of his friends watching with anticipation. Even Optimus himself had joined in, the Autobot smiling to Izuku in support. "Optimus, I've been saving this move up for the very end," he thought to himself as he brought his arms out. "I named this one after your home city. Thank you so much for all your help." Howitzer, impact. Bakugo threw his hand forward, his hand lighting up as he threw down a massive explosion that spread through the smoke trail he left behind, completely engulfing Izuku. But what he didn't see was Izuku bringing his fists together just a split second before the blast. IACON, SMAAAASSH. With as much force as he could muster, Izuku slammed his fists with 100% of his power into each other, instantly breaking both of his arms and hands, but creating the most powerful burst of air that had been seen yet. Boom. The result was the explosion going outward, flying straight back into a shocked Bakugo. What the ag? The sheer force sent him flying, despite his forward momentum. A pillar of fire and brimstone erupted from the center of the field, making everyone in the crowd close their eyes as it blew over them. Within seconds, the entire battlefield was once again rendered unseeable thanks to the amount of smoke and debris that had been kicked up. Kyoka had to cover her ears, the blast was so loud. That and the wind that blew through the tunnel took almost everyone off of their feet. Of course, the Autobots weren't affected since their holoforms weren't impacted by the elements, but they still appeared to be pretty shaken. Kyoka, however, was more concerned about Izuku, her head snapping back to the field. What happened? Did Izuku win? I can't tell. RC narrowed her eyes at the cloud of smoke, trying to find their heat signatures. Unfortunately, said smoke was messing with her sensors. Gah, I can't get a proper reading. I've got no idea what their status is. She set her sights back onto Optimus with a raised brow. But, you heard what he said, too, right? Optimus smiled with pride. Indeed, Yakan smash. I feel honored. I'm sure, Optimus. Momo beamed as well, though she was still concerned as her eyes locked back to the battlefield. Now let's just hope that Midoriya's attack wasn't in vain. Not again. Present Mike cried out, having once again fallen out of his seat. I really should have expected this, but I still can't freaking believe it. WH01. Relax, we'll know soon, Aizawa muttered. Midnight, for her part, was trying to brush off the soot that was accumulating on her face and costume, coughing and hacking all the while. Hawk hawk, I swear, these kids get more and more powerful with every generation. Her focus shifted out toward the battlefield as the smoke began to clear, and what she saw made her gasp. There, in the very center, Izuku was laid out on his back in the center of a massive crater, no doubt created by the blast. Both of his arms were broken and he was practically caked with soot, but he was somehow still conscious, which Midnight was stunned by. She darted her eyes around in search for Bakugo, and it didn't take long to find him. His body had been flung with such force that he was practically implanted into the far wall, creating a Katsuki-sized imprint in the concrete. He was bloody, bruised, scorched, and very much unconscious, falling out of the imprint and down to the grass below. Ha! Bakugo is out of bounds. She raised her flag toward the greenette in the crater and proclaimed, that means the winner is Izuku Midoriya. All at once, the crowd roared in celebratory cheers, with confetti cannons going off all around the arena. Getting up to his feet, Present Mike was more than happy to get in on the feel-good moment. Woo! And there you have it, the final match is over. The first-year winner, and might I add, undisputed champion, of this year's sports festival is, Izuku Midoriya of Class 1A. Give him all you've got, people, he freaking deserves it. Eraserhead watched as the medical bots came out to get both boys, but only one of them had an entire posse come out with it. He saw Izuku receive praise and congratulations from all of his friends, Autobots included, leading Aizawa to muse to himself. He won all 3 events straight through. Of course, he had help in the first 2. He noticed how Kyoko reached down and gently placed her hand over Izuku's broken one, no doubt reassuring him that he would be okay after his victory. But all the same, Midoriya is showing promise when it comes to his quirk. With a bit more training, maybe someday he can use his full power without breaking his bones. His eyes shifted down as Bakugo was being brought in, no doubt to a separate med room. Meanwhile, I've got a new problem child to deal with. Dude, that was freaking insane. Keita shouted, her and Shoto standing directly next to Izuku's bed. You just blew him the hell away. Gotta say, Midoriya, you're pretty damn impressive. Shoto hummed in agreement. Yeah, makes me wonder how we're gonna stand out in next year's sports festival if you end up running circles around us. Izuku, however, was only barely registering their praise. He had slipped in and out of consciousness several times on his way here, so he was still trying to process everything that had happened. He had gotten used to breaking his bones by now, but this was the first time that he had broken them by hitting himself, and that was a surprising amount of pain to experience, he had to admit. But still, the reality hadn't really hit him until then, he had won. He sent Kacchan out of bounds using a combination of his smash as well as using his own attack against him. He glanced over to Keita and Shoto with wide eyes. Guys, this is all real, right? This isn't some kind of dream. Hee, nope. You won the whole damn thing. Keita giggled. In very dominant fashion, actually. Shoto added. Izuku felt his cheeks blush at that. Well, I don't know about dominant, I just did my best. Keita gave a simple shrug. Well, either way, you definitely showed Bakugo what for. Wonder what he must be thinking right about now. Well, judging by the relative silence, I doubt he's going on a raging rampage. Izuku noted, earning another chuckle from both of them. I was serious about that. Oh, guess I shouldn't be surprised by that. Keita grimaced before seeing Recovery Girl and Marissa come into the room, taking that as their cue to leave. Alright, Midoriya, they're here, so they're probably gonna start their operation now. Recovery Girl raised her syringe cane at the standing duo. Darn tootin'. Now skedaddle and get to places, we'll take things from here. After exchanging goodbyes with their friend, the duo left, with the elderly and young healers flanking either side of Izuku's bed. You know, dearie, for as much as I thought that finishing move was utterly foolish, I still can't help but be proud of you. You did exceptionally well out there. Izuku lowered his head with a sheepish grin. Ah, come on, not you too. Please, I don't wanna get a big head over this. I've already got cold feet over the closing ceremony. Haha, alright, we'll put a pause on the praise. Marissa laughed as she put on a pair of gloves as well as a mask and a doctor's cap over her head. Besides, you'll have plenty of time to prepare for that while you're asleep and we're fixing your arms up. Like I said, your hands probably won't be the same again, but you wouldn't be here if you weren't willing to accept that, right? Right. Izuku lowered his head to the pillow as Recovery Girl placed an anesthesia mask over his face, breathing slowly as he prepared to go under. Thank you both. Half an hour later, Izuku was back up on his feet and making his way toward the lift with the winner's platforms. His right arm was in a heavy cast, slung up against his chest while his left was free, though it was almost entirely covered in gauze. That one hadn't been so bad, thankfully. Still hurt, but hey, he knew what he was getting into. After his surgery, he had asked the two healers how Bakugo was, though their answers were fairly vague. He wasn't mad, so there's something. Marissa had noted. He actually almost seemed kinda lost, or something. Very much in disbelief, I say. Recovery Girl furthered, still reeling from the loss. I've seen it countless times in my tenure here. I'd advise being cautious around him right now. Their answers had left Izuku concerned. Had his sudden victory shake Kachan so much that it left him shell-shocked? That was the only thing he could think of as he finally made it to the lift room and opened the door, and what he saw made him do a double take. On the third-place platform were Shoto and Keita, both awkwardly standing in silence as they glanced over to the second-place podium. There stood Katsuki, his head down with a shadow cast over his eyes thanks to his hair. He didn't even look up when Izuku walked in. Oh no. Izuku winced as he approached the podiums, going up to Shoto and Keita first. MHA. Hey. Shoto acknowledged with a whisper. Has he been like this? Keita finished. Yeah, pretty much. He hasn't even said or shouted a word to us since he got here. All he did was walk up to the platform and he's just been standing there ever since. Izuku pursed his lips. That's not like him at all. He saw the stairs to the first place podium and walked up, taking his place before looking down to the silent Bakugo. Deku, just, don't. Not right now. The greenette couldn't believe his ears. Katsuki Bakugo, the explosive blonde who had kept up his boisterous, loud and self-righteous attitude since elementary school, was now sounding utterly dejected. There wasn't even any spiteful venom in his voice, it was just hollow. Something in Izuku's gut told him that he should have felt good about this, that this was rightful karma for everything he had done to him throughout his childhood. But, while winning the sports festival did feel good, seeing Katsuki as he was right now wasn't satisfying. I'm trying to be a hero who brings smiles to people's faces. Izuku peered at Bakugo's downcast frown once again. But this is the exact opposite. Up above in the stadium, the entire first-year class had taken back to the field, with the battle arena having been removed. Midnight stood up in front where the platform would soon raise up as she began the closing ceremony, her voice ringing through the stadium. The first-year students have completed all of the events for the UA Sports Festival. She waved her hand as the hatch opened up. Now, it's time to relax and enjoy the award ceremony. The audience and students all began applauding as tons of fireworks were set off above the building, with smoke and more confetti being shot out in front of the rising podiums. Class 1A cheered the loudest, of course, especially given who was standing at the top of first place. Woo! Hell yeah, Izuku! Kyoka cheered. Way to show him, Deku! Ochako clapped as well, only to notice some of her other classmates' downcast expressions. What's wrong, you guys? Oh, well, we're happy, don't get me wrong. Mina assured. It just doesn't feel right without Iida here, ya know. Both Kyoka and Ochako deflated slightly at that, reminded of their friend's no doubt harrowing time at the moment. Oh, yeah, the perplet resigned with a sigh. Man, of all days and all times, why the hell did this happen to him now? This is supposed to be a good day for all of us, damn it. Eijiro balled his fist, but kept his composure as he nodded. Yeah, it absolutely sucks. Come on, Ingenium. You've gotta be okay. For Ida's sake. With a wave of her hand, Midnight gestured up toward the top of the stadium. Now, let's break out the hardware. Of course, there's only one person worthy of distributing the awards. Ahahaha. Without fail, the entire audience erupted into an uproar. They knew exactly who that laugh belonged to, and their thoughts were only confirmed when he came leaping down from the stadium roof into the center field. Citizens, I am here with the medals. All Might is the #1 hero. The awkward silence was so thick it could be cut with a knife. Midnight had fumbled her line and spoke over All Might, earning her an incredulous stare from everyone, including the symbol of peace himself. She brought her hands together, sheepishly hiding behind them. I ruined that completely, didn't I? So sorry. With a wince from All Might, Midnight coughed into her hand before producing the 4 medals. Ahem, so, now that you're here, All Might, why don't you start the presentation? I would be honored. Taking the 2 bronze, 3rd place medals in each hand, he went over and stepped up onto Shoto and Keita's podium, moving toward the latter first. Haha. Young Kiryu, congratulations. He chuckled whilst placing the medal over her neck. You showed great strength out there. Thank you, sir. Keita muttered, bowing politely. But, I don't know if, Without warning, All Might came in and gave her a hug, patting her on the back in support. However, you've got more training to do if you're going to be able to use your quirk effectively against villains. He pulled away, giving her a thumbs up. Finding balance with one's quirk is an arduous journey, believe me, but you have a strong will and an even stronger resolve to do good in this world. I'm sure you will find success if you continue down your path. Keita's eyes went down to her medal, lifting it in her hand so she could stare directly at it. It was then that she decided, this is going to be what motivates me to get better. I will gain control over my transformations, and next year, I'm gonna win for sure. She smiled up and bowed to All Might once again. Thank you, sir. I'll remember that. I'm glad to hear it. All Might replied before his attention went to Shoto. Young Todoroki, congratulations to you, as well. He gently placed the medal over his neck before asking, though I'm assuming there's a reason why you hadn't used your left side throughout this competition until the semis. Stealing a brief glance to the greenette up above him, Shoto wore a slight smile as he addressed the hero. Midoriya opened my eyes during our match, but then, his grin disappeared as his uncertainty creeping up on him again. But even then, even now, I continue to doubt myself. I think now I understand a little about why you're so interested in him. That made All Might tilt his head, but Shoto just kept going. I want to be the kind of hero you are, but my path isn't as clear as I thought it was. I have a lot to think about, and I still have to settle things with someone. Very soon. That made Keita's eyes widen, both in fear and curiosity. What does he mean by that? All Might nodded in affirmation. I've never seen this look on your face before. Once more, he went in for a hug. I won't ask for details, but trust yourself. I'm sure you'll work things out. Right, thank you. With that, All Might stepped off the platform and went to the opposite side, where Bakugo still stood with his head hung low. Seeing this, and knowing the situation, All Might took a deep breath as he went up, presenting the silver, 2nd place medal to him. Young Bakugo, congratulations. Even as he put the medal on, Katsuki made no movement whatsoever, which scared the hero greatly. I can see that you're deep in thought, even now. At the beginning of this festival, during the pledge, you said that you would win the entire thing, but that didn't come to pass. You had great aspirations, and I apologize that it didn't go the way you had hoped. All Might's eyebrows rose up at the small sound Bakugo made. I wanted to prove that I was the best one here. That I could be #1. I see. All Might went in for his hug, making sure to give his own advice to Bakugo. Young man, in this world, the journey to becoming a hero doesn't often go the way we plan. However, that doesn't mean it's the end. He knelt down so that he could just barely see Bakugo's eyes, the blonde glancing up at him. Still, if you wish to be the best, if you want to be respected, be sure to show the same amount of respect to the people you come across along the way. Otherwise, no one will respect you as the best. All Might rose to his full height, his hand firm yet gentle on the boy's shoulder. I would advise that you reflect on the path that brought you here, and the path you wish to take going forward, okay? There was a long pause before Bakugo gave a single nod. Yeah, sure. I think that's the best response I'm going to get out of him for now. All Might thought to himself as he climbed to the top pedestal. It's obvious that he's already thinking about it right now. I can only hope it leads him toward a better understanding of himself and the others around him. With that in mind, he stood in front of the first place winner, and all at once, a rush of pride and joy overwhelmed him as he stared into the tear-filled green eyes of his pupil. Of course, those celebrations could come later. Right now, he had to be non-biased. Young Midoriya, congratulations. Izuku couldn't help the waterworks that came flowing down his cheeks as All Might placed the gold medal over his neck. He had several dreams like this in the past, but now, it was a reality. Granted, he never imagined his arms would be in this state during those dreams, but he was ecstatic all the same. Thank you, sir. Throughout this festival, you showed everyone that your unassuming appearance was not to be taken lightly. Winning every event was no easy feat, but, All Might craned his head down, eyeing Kyoka specifically. With the help and support of your fellow students, you managed to pull through. Seeing Kyoka giving him a wink and a thumbs up made Izuku's heart soar into the stratosphere, and the fact that the rest of his friends and classmates were looking up at him in admiration was something he'd never thought he'd experience. After his hellish middle school years, this moment made him feel incredible. Why, you're right. Izuku choked out. I've had help from lots of people along the way, and I hope I don't lose the relationships I've made so far here. With friends like yours, I'm certain you won't. All Might placed his hand to Izuku's shoulder. However, there is still a long way to go. Your quirk is powerful, but it would be preferred if you didn't have to break your bones every time you use that power. Keep that in mind as your training here continues. He brought himself in, giving Izuku his hug, but it was then that he lowered his voice to a whisper so no one but them could hear, but I know you'll get the hang of it. You've done so well and I am so proud of you, young Midoriya. You've truly shown the world that you are here. That did it. All at once, Izuku's tears went into overdrive and he began ugly crying, turning beet red as he brought his one decent arm up to try and wipe them away. Thank you, All Might, he hiccuped. All Might winced a little as he felt his suit get a bit wet, but all the same, he knew that they were tears of joy. You're very welcome. He pulled away and jumped down, thrusting his arm toward the 4 students before him. Here they are, the winners of this year's sports festival. But listen closely, any of you first years could have ended up standing on these podiums. Think about what you've done today. You've challenged each other, learned, and climbed even closer toward your goals of being pros. All Might pointed up toward the sky with a victorious pose. I think the next generation of heroes is proving to be our most promising one yet. So, I have one more thing to say. He thrust his hands up toward the crowd. I want everyone to yell it with me. You know what it is. Like clockwork, everyone in the stadium went, plus ultra. Thanks everyone for your hard work. And the awkwardness was back. But it was compiled by the fact that everyone in the audience was now booing the number 1 hero while the students all yelled, what? That was the perfect time to say, plus ultra, All Might. All Might guiltily brought a hand to his neck, trying to explain himself. Well, yeah, I guess, but everyone did such a good job. About an hour later, once everything had died down, all of the students returned to the main school building and changed back into their normal uniforms. Granted, Izuku needed a bit of help with his, but Eijiro was more than happy to assist. After that, as the sun began to set, 1A returned to their classroom, where Aizawa would address them one final time before they were to go home and rest. Nice work. The erasure hero commended bluntly. You have the next 2 days of school off to recuperate. He scanned his eyes across the room, taking note of Ida's empty seat and Bakugo still with his head down. I'm sure the pros who watched the festival will want to recruit some of you. We'll look over the draft forms and update you when you return. He raised a hand, dismissing them. Get some rest, you still have a lot of training to come. Yes sir, the class said collectively before heading toward the door. As they walked out, Keita nudged Shoto in the arm, sending him a questioning gaze. So, what did ya mean back there by settling something? Are you gonna confront your dad? Shoto shook his head. Nothing like that. I'll let you know tomorrow when I'm more sure of what I'm doing. Keita simply smirked and nudged him in the side. PSH, you tease. Call me as soon as you're ready. With everyone leaving, however, Izuku trailed behind with his friends, all of them staring at Tenya's seat. Pretty sure we're all thinking the same thing, huh? Yeah, this sucks. Ochako confirmed, speaking for everyone as they all nodded. Momo placed a hand to her cheek, thinking over everything that had happened over the course of the day. It's hard to believe that the sports festival would end on such a bittersweet note. But then, she realized something. Wait, did anyone see where Optimus and the others went after the finals ended? Actually, no, I didn't. Denki scratched his head. Weird, it's like they all just up and disappeared. You should be careful about where you discuss the Autobots, you know. Aizawa approached the group from behind, his tone quite serious. You're lucky everyone's left, but I do think I remember them sticking around for the closing ceremony before quickly ducking out. Kyoko raised a brow. Why the heck would they? Hey guys. All at once, the classroom door flung open and Mei came charging in, holding a small disc in her hand. The students jumped and yelped in surprise, though Mei was nonplussed by the whole thing. Whoops. Sorry, but guess who just showed up? She thrust her hands toward the door, and through it stepped Optimus Prime's holoform, the Autobot leader giving everyone a nod. Greetings, children. Prime greeted. My apologies for the sudden departure earlier. Prime, there you are. Mina exclaimed. Where the heck did you guys go? We barely saw ya after Midori won. Prime raised his hand to them all. Before I explain myself, firstly, I wish to extend my sparkfelt congratulations to you all. Every single one of you made it to the finals of the sports festival, and that is something to be commended for. I have no doubt that your upcoming draft will see you under the tutelage of many great heroes. However, Optimus then lowered his head with an apologetic smile. But, while we stayed for the closing ceremony, we had to make ourselves scarce quickly. Red Alert had some news regarding a new potential artifact that he found and it couldn't wait. At this, the teens' eyes all immediately flickered with interest. Whoa, a new relic. Ochako beamed. So cool. What and where is it? We can share that information later on, at the celebration we'll be having back at base later on. Prime said with a grin. Whoa, a sports festival afterparty tonight at base. Eijiro smirked. Sweet. Count me in. Denki raised a fist to that. Me too, sounds like fun. Mina threw her hands up into the air. Woo. Party hardy. Oh, but wait. She glanced down to the class rep's empty seat again. What about Iida? Optimus' demeanor changed as well, closing his eyes in remorse. Unfortunately, I've received word from Strongarm that he will not be joining us. He wore a sad smile as he delivered the next bit of news. Fortunately, his brother is alive, and in stable condition. He is expected to make it, but not without some potential career-ending injuries. A united gasp went through the room, with Momo covering her mouth. Oh gosh, poor Iida. Izuku balled up his decent hand, wanting to smack it against a desk, but Kyoko reached out and prevented him from doing that. Damn it, Iida's brother was his hero. Who could have done this? Once again, we will discuss that back at base tonight. Optimus replied. There will be plenty of good and bad news to share, but my hope is that the good news leaves you excited about the future. With a single wave, Optimus' holoform began to flicker in and out of existence, returning his consciousness back to his main body. I hope to see you all very soon. Farewell for now, young heroes. And with that, the humans were left by themselves, to reflect once again on what had happened that day. Izuku craned his head toward the window, watching the sun set over the horizon. The sports festival is over, but something tells me that this is only the beginning. And it's the end of Season 2 Part 17 of this What If. I hope you guys like it. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment down below and subscribe to the channel.